Listen, a couple things, people, I want to share with the populace. It's been a minute since I've gone live. Let me verify the audio is doing what it's supposed to be doing in this season of my life, because we tend to have occurrences where nothing is doing what it's supposed to be doing. But I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a minute. Hope everyone's doing well. Obviously, you see the title. Again, this is going to be a Ask Me Anything. I enjoy questions, you understand. I enjoy questions. PT standards. Let me bring it up real quick. By the way, what's good, Christian? Drop your questions in the chat if you got any. On any topic you understand. I just want to talk about stuff and bring perspective to the people. I'm in a good mood today. Very good mood today. Let's talk about Air Force PT standards real quick, though. I watched a video on it on, I believe it was Fox News. And I kind of heard of it before. It kind of went to that level. But, of course, hearing all the opinions and what have you was good. Mind, body. Yeah, you hear all the opinions about, I thought the service to our country, and people are going to be doing the things and that will have you. But everybody had an opinion about the Air Force, the corporation of the Air Force, which, again, we're not really here for a lot of the opinions because ultimately we still got to do the job. And so there's that. But just a couple of highlights, just a couple of things that stood out to me. Probably the biggest thing that was brought about was the walking instead of the running. Let's see if I can find the passage where they reference that. It's always interesting, the powers that be as it relates to who makes the rules for stuff. I have my PT test next week on Wednesday. Not really worried about it. Probably should be, but I'm not. Altitude here at Cannon is very much different than many other bases. We're on a plateau, and the oxygen levels are quite different in nature. But of course, shout out to Ease Claps, referencing the carnivore diet. This is day 14 for me, and I've seen major improvements in my breathing, in my body. Obviously, my weight has dropped immensely. You start noticing improvements everywhere. I'm like, interesting, man. Carnivore is different. So let's see what we can find. I want to read the whole article. I'm not really here for that. Let's see if we can find certain passages. By the way, while I'm finding the area, go ahead and drop your questions. Any questions you have, I'll determine whether I answer or not. If you want to throw in a super chat, want to show some support for the channel, show some love for your boy. We got to keep this full. You feel me? These are not expensive, so I do appreciate the love. All right, let's see what we got. So a couple things that have changed. There's no more waist measurement. So they'll be increasing the value of the push-up segment and the sit-ups, which again, it's not much, major changes there as far as, you just get more points for push-up and sit-ups, and your run counts a little bit less. Mile and a half run is where it currently sits. And again, I don't think these changes are coming immediately. I believe these changes may occur in the early part of next year. But it's still something to talk about because it's reached a certain level of legislation, at least from a military standpoint. So it's something to be aware of. What else we got? I'm trying to find the part just about the run. Or the walk, rather. Turn straight in the category once. I don't know why they hide stuff. If I was to write a book or an article, I would just leave everything itemized. Like, we don't need paragraphs. We don't need essays. Just itemize everything. Here's the changes. Thusly. Leave it at that. Is that the right article? Let me find a different article. All right. This was posted by military.com 3 days ago. All right, cool. So it says, it reads as follows. Airmen will choose options to fit 3 mandatory categories the service already uses: 1 aerobic and 2 strength events. For the cardio aerobic training, airmen will have 3 options: the standard 1.5 mile run, a 1 mile walk, or a 20-meter high aerobic multi-shuttle run. Interesting. What else we got? I could hear the Marines and the Navy and the Army and the Space Force probably be on arrest, but the other branches just punching the air and losing sleep over the fact that a military branch is walking for their PT test. I digress. So airmen may choose either traditional push-ups or hand release push-ups for 1 strength event, and either sit-ups, a cross-legged reverse crunch, or planking for the second strength component, the release states. Interesting. I feel like we just throwing stuff together now. Let's do rock, paper, scissors to see who can skip the test this year. The current fitness test is gender and age adjusted. The service said the new options also will follow the model, but specifics will be provided on a later date. All right, so I'm trying to find some more stuff just on the run specifically, the walk rather, which is probably causing the most uproar is the fact that people are walking for their PT test. I'm like, all right, so let's scroll down a little bit. All right, so here we go. The run, for example, may have other scoring characteristics. An airman's time to complete the 1 mile run will be weighed against the member's age, weight, and heart rate at the time of walk completion. So I'm sure they'll have some type of standardized heart rate monitor or some type of equipment, maybe issued Apple Watches. Interesting. Maybe some Fitbits, what have you. Obviously, the military is kind of cheap, so we might be getting some dusty stuff. But anyway, that'd be interesting how they work that out as far as measuring your heart rate while you're walking. But because the aerobic portion of the 1.5 mile run is based on speed, health risks such as weight and heart conditions, and the airman's age, there's no significant difference of scores between the walk and run tests. The service said, the walk is not a stroll in the park, and both the pace required and method for computing aerobic fitness make it 100% equivalent to the run, Kelly said in the release. In fact, I think we'll find few people will prefer that option over the more traditional 1.5 mile run. Kelly said that while the Air Force has considered other alternatives such as rowing, swimming, and biking, they will not be used for the revamped PT test and will begin at bases starting at January 2022. And the rest is just about COVID and remote locations and what have you. First impressions. I'm a fan. There are many ways to judge one's fitness. I don't think a tape measure has anything to do with it. I think there's a correlation between weight and speed, weight and endurance, weight and simply completing a certain task like walking upstairs, walking at all, standing up from a chair. It should not hurt. Like, there's certain things that I guess your weight would have a correlation to. I don't think it's purely causation, but I think there's great evidence for correlation in certain tasks and why certain things hurt, why your joints might hurt. Like, all right, well, maybe 500 pounds at 5 foot or 4'11", maybe that's not an acceptable, ratio. That's not up to me though. It's not up to me. But yeah, my first thoughts on PT tests involving walking. Now, it's something you probably observed in the Olympics. I believe it's called power walking, where you always must keep 1 foot on the ground. Now, I don't think it'll be that strict in terms of enforcement. I don't think it's something that everybody's gonna be walking next to you. Just make sure you always got a foot on the ground. It's not power walking, but it's probably gonna be at the same rate, the same speed as power walking, meaning that you're not relaxing during this walk. This is not a comfort walk. This is not, as you mentioned, a stroll in the park. This is stressful. This is different. This is different, which again, I don't think is bad. I don't think it's bad to adjust PT standards to include more exercises, because obviously the body can do more than just push-ups, sit-ups, and run. It can do other things. It can do lunges. It can do it can do pull-ups. There's a reason why Air Force doesn't have pull-ups in it, but you see the Marines, they value pull-ups and having upper body strength in certain ways, in a certain manner. So I don't see this as a bad thing. I think most areas of the military should evolve over time. Perfect example, me working in finance, I take issue personally with the fact that we still use paper for a lot of the processes we do. Why? Again, it's not something that's up to me, but you see how we have different websites roll out, and now we see CSP portal, and everybody go through this website, and the website's down today, and the website, and we have we're fixing, and there's patches, and or the whole thing is down, and now we're moving to a different cloud network. It's constantly an issue of you've never gone on Facebook or Amazon or Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter. These websites do not have down days. And if there is, we go to a different website to make sure that it is down. Amazon, like all these major companies, they somehow figured out what the U.S. military struggles with, is finding out how to make something that is stable, that works most of the time. And of course, we deal with accuracy, especially in finance. You know, you got Power BI versus Deems and Chris and FM Suite. We have all these different programs that may or may not talk to each other, may not communicate properly. It's ongoing progression and evolution that we're constantly dealing with, but it's interesting. I like progress, and not so much. Let me rephrase. I like progress over just changes happening, because there comes a time where we're just making changes and it's not progressing, if that makes sense. So I see this as a good thing. Obviously, everyone won't elect to walk, because again, it's not like you're just strolling through the park listening to audiobooks. You're probably busting your behind out there on some concrete, so it might be painful. Who knows? But it's a first. It's different. It changes, and so we'll probably see some of these changes implemented the beginning of next year, Q1. And so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, my test coming up next week will just be one and a half mile run, push-ups and sit-ups, and we'll see how that goes. The run is, I cannot stand running. I don't see the purpose of it. Unless you're about to die, you should not be running. Running and swimming is what you do right before you die. I don't need to be doing either one. So we'll be staying on land, and we'll be running as a necessity only. But that's the update. Not really much there to talk about. Just a bunch of opinions going around. You have everybody with an opinion on something. Thankfully, the Air Force does not have infantry. We have security forces. We have special operators. But yeah, we don't have infantry. So running is not a necessity. I don't believe, this is my personal view, I don't speak for the Air Force whatsoever. I don't believe running is a necessity as it relates to sitting at a desk. When I deploy in any environment, for the most part, in most cases as an airman, I deployed to do my job. We are not riflemen first. We're not the Army, we're not the Marines. So there are a lot of cases where a lot of people make the assumption that, you know, they see somebody in uniform and they automatically pause at the fact, that's a soldier. Look at that soldier walking over to that plane. Well, the Army has pilots too. The Air Force has pilots. We're not all pilots. We're not all soldiers. We're not all infantry. We're not all running through the backwoods. You know, I was talking to a friend who just went through Army basic training, and she talked about how they were sleeping in the field and sleeping in the dirt and eating MREs. And I'm like, what kind of foolishness? What kind of foolishness is that, bruh? The closest thing to sleeping in dirt was me sleeping in an air-conditioned tent, because I'm Air Force. Like, you understand, I don't test well in ASVAB just to join any branch. I chose the Air Force intentionally. So we're different. Certain branches, they don't need everyone to run a 3-mile run in 20 minutes. But if your job demands that you run 3 miles in 20 minutes, well, maybe the PT test should reflect that. Our job should probably be, a proper PT test for the Air Force should probably be like, how many words do you type a minute? You know, maybe judging on your flexibility or something. We sit at desks, or we have standing desks. It's different. It's different for different branches. And this is why I always encourage people, that when you join a branch, to ensure that you study all the ins and outs of that branch, especially when it comes to deployments, because some people deploy and their experience is night and day compared to garrison being back home. Whereas the Air Force, it doesn't really change that much. We changed countries, but our desk is the same. The systems we use are the same. The tools in most cases are the same, unless you're going to a bear base. But if you're a Marine, your deployment experience is going to be way different than an airman's deployment experience. And a lot of people talk down to the Air Force. Oh, you chair force, you sit in your chair. I'm like, yes, we're sitting in air conditioning. We're drinking Starbucks, bro. We're listening to Spotify. Like, yes, that's what we're doing. Our base has Wi-Fi. We're going off base to go to dinner at the steakhouse locally. It's what we do. It's different. So a lot of people, took issue with the PT test being so, wow, why is the Air Force lowering their standards and why are the other branches? And like, our skill sets, our tasks that we're responsible for are different than the other branches. That's hence why we separate the branches. So it's just something to be aware of. Something a lot of people don't shine light on is why the Air Force may have lax standards compared to the other branches. It's because we're different. We're different. We're not better. We're not worse, but we are crucial to our mission set, to our task set. We're different. And so therefore, the requirements to get in are different. They may be more difficult for the average person when it comes to getting in or testing for the ASVAB or scoring at a certain level. MEPS is not a walk in the park for some people. Some people just, they have bad knees or they've had past injuries from sports in high school. It's different for everyone. But people all want everything to be the same. And a lot of people are just ignorant to the fact that the branches are different. Just because I'm in the Air Force doesn't mean that I shoot guns often. I shoot guns maybe once a year. And I aim to qualify. I don't aim to get expert, and I'm not a sniper. I don't know any Air Force snipers. I don't think we have any. The closest thing to it might be like special operations. They might have people that just score marksman every time. But I shot an M9 last week or the week before for the first time in my life. A Beretta M9. I don't shoot pistols like that. So it's just being aware of the different branches and why we have different branches is crucial to understanding certain changes. So there's that. Who in this chat, man? I know I saw Mind Body down here talking trash. Don't worry about how I mentioned the Army. The Army is one of the dustier branches, both physically and metaphorically. And so we honor them for their sacrifice and for the way they sleep in sleeping bags. We respect the sacrifice that was given in those areas. Who else we got here? East Claps mentions, I lost 10 pounds from carnivore in 5 days. I need to lose 20 in order to get in. My dream job is air traffic control, computer system programming. Hey, keep going, man. Keep going. Make sure you're eating till you're full, drinking water. Make sure your supplements are on 10. Something that a lot of people sleep on is potassium, magnesium, and sodium. Simply put, electrolytes. You need to have your electrolytes on 10, mainly because your body, when you stop eating carbs, your body's going to flush out all the water. And because you're not taking in a lot of salt, you're gonna flush out a lot of water, and all the minerals go with the water. And so, of course, you need to replenish that. So just be aware of those things. But yeah, keep working. 20 pounds, you need to lose 20 pounds, and yeah, you'll get that. Be consistent. 20 pounds will come off in about a month or two. So yeah, just stay consistent, man. Make sure you're staying flexible. Make sure you're putting little weights in there, putting some body weight movements in there. You get the idea. But air traffic control. I've only heard. So the only air traffic controllers I knew were one before I joined the military. She worked at where I was working in the civilian world. She actually works there now. Not for the military, but I think she works at the airport as an air traffic controller. Tough tech school, from what I hear. Tough tech school. A lot of memorization, learning certain phrases that you must communicate with pilots and ground crew. It's interesting. It's different, but of course people are doing it, so it can't be that hard. So yeah, what else you got on there? Computer systems programming. Don't know anything about that. I know a lot of cyber jobs, but yeah, focus on what you have in front of you right now. That's probably the biggest thing. A lot of people look too far ahead and they get overwhelmed, they get anxiety, and they fail to realize, all right, I'm not there yet, so I should not be worrying about that. It's too far down the road. Let me focus on what's in front of me right here. And for that might just be losing 20 pounds. Let me give all my effort to losing 20 pounds. And then after that, I'll move on to the next stage, MEPS. Understanding wisdom, understanding the rules of engagement of that environment. Who's in charge of this environment? What is my ultimate goal in this environment? Then from there, you move on to the next stage. And again, it's about staying present and understanding, all right, this is what I need to do right now. And then later comes this. I'm not saying ignore the future. I'm not saying don't plan for it, but give your energy like lose sleep over what's due right now, not next week. So just a couple tips there. What else we got? Have you seen Angry Cop's reaction to new pizza test? I have not, and I think I'm subscribed to that channel. I think he's like a former Marine, and he makes all these different parodies. It's interesting. I'm sure it's hilarious. What else we got? My estimated leave date in January, according to my recruiter, my girlfriend has her graduation in May. Would I still be able to make it in an AFSC of aircraft or any technical job? I'm not sure what you're asking. If you're asking whether or not you can make a graduation in January, and okay, so your estimated leave date for January is your BMT dates. One thing you're gonna learn about the military is that planning sometimes goes out the window. You can plan as best you can, and sometimes all of it goes out the window. Sometimes you probably the number one skill that you need in the military is adaptation. I will put a close second with patience. Patience, adaptation, thinking ahead, planning for changes, planning for contingency, understanding that nothing is going to be linear as it relates to your military career. A lot of things just happen to you, and you're forced to respond to it. This being one of them, as far as nobody plans for injuries, nobody plans to be recycled, nobody plans to be on AFI and tech school, nobody plans to be waiting on class dates. Everyone goes into something with a plan, and then when life hits them and they realize, all right, none of this is going to be able to take place. As far as, all right, that's really a tight window. As far as, all right, you go to basic in January, 2 months in basic, January, February, and then supposedly you graduate at the end of February, depending, assuming you went January 1st. Cool. So maybe you graduate the end of February, maybe mid-March. I don't know. The point being, you might have time, but again, you're assuming that you're going straight from BMT to anywhere you want. Unless you're guard, you're going to tech school straight from basic training. You're not going anywhere but to basic training. So just understanding how the systems work, the process that you're in, the process that you're entering, and being aware of all the different variables, which again, you can't know all of them because you're first-time airman as well. First-time airman as well. So a lot of variables you don't know about yet. So just kind of being flexible is probably your best bet. To answer your question directly, because I enjoy answering direct or giving direct answers. I don't like dancing around stuff with a bunch of jargon. So we'll look at your question real quick. Just make sure I really covered it. Where'd you go? All right. So my estimated leave date is January, according to my recruiter. Okay, so that may change. Just being aware of that may change. If it gets pushed back any further, that pushes closer into the time that your girlfriend might be graduating from graduation or college. You didn't mention where she's graduating from, but just be aware of that. Would I still be able to make it in an AFSC? So again, nothing is guaranteed, especially in specific jobs. You're not guaranteed any specific job in the military. You're going off what you qualify for in terms of your ASVAB and your MEPS. MEPS more specifically in terms of disqualifying from jobs based on your qualifications, not to be redundant. And then lastly, the needs of the Air Force takes precedent over everything else. So those three things determine what job you get in the first place. And then again, your recruiter estimated that you'd be leaving in January. You could leave in February. You could leave in March. You could be waiting till August, September. There's a lot of variables you can't account for. So remain flexible. I can't give you direct assurances, but again, learn to adapt now, because it's going to happen to you later where you're going to have to adapt anyway. So it's better you learn it early. What else we got? I will be avoiding mind body's question. Quick answer, I don't know. Here's a question. L Mercedes asks, I see the whipping. I see you whipping it, bro, in the thumbnail, bro. I see you. Can you say the good or the bad about being in services? It may not be your job, but anything about it can help. I'm thinking of joining the Air Guard and choosing that as my FSC, but I'm not sold on it. Here's something a lot of people don't know about me. 20 people watching. This is beautiful. Something a lot of people don't know about me is that I have now entered a phase in my life, especially now I'm in the midst of cross training, where my number one goal in cross training is to choose a job that I do not have to think while at work in. That's the honest truth. I want to go to work and not have to think about anything. I don't want to have to calculate. I don't want to have to make good judgment calls, and pursue wisdom and intelligence and knowledge and study and recall. I want to go to work and tune out. From my point of view, from what I've observed, services is one of those career fields where it appears, I perceive them to not have to think deeply while they're at work. And I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I know there are staff sergeants that work at the gym, at the DFAC, round base, at the hotels. I never see them. I'm jealous of that. Services is on my list of cross training. Not for the reasons that a lot of people think, because again, most people want to come in the military with the fanciest, top secret, working next door to the president job. And I come in to cross training, like after being in 4.5, 5 years, I'm trying to get a job where I don't have to think. I don't want to deal with nukes. I don't want top secret clearance. I don't want to have to crack the code and communicate over satellites and via radios and secret coding and dropping information that's in the mailbox and putting an X over here and dropping sticks of gum and leaving messages inside the wrapper. I don't want to do all that. I want to come to work and clean machines, because I'd rather come home and think and read and study and educate myself and make videos on and muse and ponder. I'd rather come on here and do all that than go to work and spend 8 hours mandatory of my day over just thinking, and what about this? And where'd that penny go? And why is this budget? And that target and the bogey over here, and we're missing money over here, and we're over expending over here, and we need more money over here. I don't want to do all that. I don't want to stress while I'm at work. And so to answer your question, services is interesting because they move all over the place. You see them in the DFACs, you see them in the hotels on base, you'll see them in the gyms. And it's something I'm looking into as far as, it's a great job. You're solving a problem. And lastly, you're getting paid the same as someone else who's guarding a nuke. Now, of course, there are certain entitlements that some career fields get that, they might be getting hazard duty pay, that they might be getting certain entitlements based on exactly what they're doing. Like somebody's flying over the place, flying through, hardship duty zones or tax-free zones. Of course, they're making a little bit more money. They're constantly going TDY. They're making more money via DTS. But in your case, where you're just solving a problem, you're solving a problem consistently. You don't have to sit there and study and how do I wipe the machine and how do I mop this and how do I prepare the food? Most of the instructions are given to you and you just follow. It's obedience. And you get paid with the same entitlements that everyone else gets. So it's not the worst job in the world. It's not the hardest job. It's not the best job in the world. But you should be proud to solve a problem. There are many people that are retiring from services as chiefs over the career field, and they serve their country well. So, don't overthink it. It's a job that you know how to do, probably already from home. You probably don't need a long tech school to do it, but somebody has to do it. And again, it's something I'm looking into. As deep as I like to think and study, even I want to go sweep floors because it's easy. It's simple. So, don't overthink it, man. Especially in the guard. Yeah. Try to get you an AGR spot, man. What else we got? Christian Montgomery. Air Force is still mentally stressful, though. Facts. That's exactly what I'm talking about as far as, first of all, being a supervisor, brand new supervisor. I've been a supervisor for like 2 months now. So just understanding how this works as far as how do I communicate, I plan on making a video. I thought about making a video about this. Is like the ALS did not prepare me to be a supervisor. Controversial take. Clip it. ALS, Airman Leadership School, did not prepare me to be a supervisor. Some of the stuff that I'm struggling with now and really coming afresh on and like discovering now as far as what I'm responsible for as being a supervisor, ALS did not mention it. I don't think they mentioned personalities. I don't think they mentioned discrimination. I don't think they mentioned mental health. I don't think they mentioned learning styles and preferences. It's a lot of things that ALS, they kind of gloss over, and they of course, it's meant to be efficient. It's meant to be fast. It's meant to get as many people through and just put on staff and go. You got to go. But there are a lot of things that's a great opportunity to actually learn and ask a senior NCO. I'm like, listen, how do I deal with somebody who does not know how to follow up properly, who was never taught this as a teenager or a young adult? How do I teach somebody that when you start something, when you get an email and you get an instruction, you're supposed to follow that instruction all the way through until it's done and then follow up again with the person that gave you an instruction. Some of that stuff is mysteries to people, and some people just don't know this stuff, and they have to be taught by their supervisor. But I'm moving into a position where I thought you're the same age as me, or you were raised differently, whatever. But some people just don't understand certain principles that may have been pressed upon me in my previous years because of my supervisor or my parents. So it's a lot of things that it's not talked about, and it should be, especially as it relates to just humans being different. It's not a bad thing that you weren't raised a certain way. It's that you're raised differently than me. Yes, you would rather have learned certain things at a certain age, but some people are just raised differently and they're not aware. And so, of course, it's not a place where you just immediately go, you put them down and be like, you should have known this, you should know this, you know this. But no, there are a lot of things that I'm learning on the spot, in the moment. I'm like, I did not know. And now I have to learn how to do it in the moment, which again, that's what senior NCOs are for, to guide the NCOs. But, it's different. So you're 100% right. Where we lack in physical stress, we kind of make up for it in mental stress, because the Air Force monetizes our minds. The Space Force, they monetize our minds. They pay us for our minds. Our bodies are secondary. The Marines, they pay you for your body first. And then they say, all right, well, we'll take a little bit of your mind too. If you can think and aim before you pull the trigger, that'll be great. It's different. It's different. So great point. Great point. What's good, David Lee? I see you, Red. On my faithful, loyal subscribers. Good to hear from you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're not worrying too much. Yeah, highly intelligent gentleman right there, David Lee. What else we got? JP asks, how did you enjoy pistol shooting? It's not like the movies. It's hard to hit what you're aiming at than it looks. Do you think it's something you like to continue to do? Here's my take on guns, bro. And I don't want to get too deep into this because this can easily leak into politics, as most things do. Most people just they start on topic and they tangent directly into politics. I'm like, how does everything lead to politics? So, I lived in Alaska, as most of you know, stationed in Alaska for a year, and guns are like toothpaste. Like, you find them on the ground and you're like, hey, you want a gun? Take one. It's yours. Like, guns are everywhere and they're easy to get. I don't like guns. And I'll say this, and hopefully most of you catch it, for obvious reasons. I don't like guns. And I'll leave it at that. But also, I don't have a reason to have a gun. Most things I buy, they serve a purpose. I don't have a lot of things I just don't use. Most things I own, especially in this house, I use it as a purpose. It's essential to most of my everyday life is what I own. And so a gun is not something that I've come across often in terms of a utility and something I need, necessity. So I don't think I liked it better than the M4. It is lighter, which is, the M4 is only 7 pounds, and then with the clip it's like 10 pounds, a full clip rather. The M9 I'm not gonna lie, I did feel a little bit of energy towards the movies. I'm like, bruh, when Denzel walked up on that boy and he said, bruh, you put him down, double tapped him. I was like, bruh, maybe I need to be in the movies. Is that what I need? Is that what I'm missing in my life? Was I supposed to be an actor? Did I miss my calling? Because again, it does feel good to hold. There's something about a gun, the weight of it, that you just, I need to depart this ammunition to someone's person. Like there's something about it that it feels primal, which is weird. But to answer your question, I don't enjoy going to the range at all. The number one thing I hate about guns is the noise. Give me a suppressor, and maybe we'll change our mind about that. But I don't like how loud they are. I'm a musician. I play piano. I love hearing music. I love music. God forbid I ever lose my hearing. I love music. The one thing about guns I do not like is not only the cleaning, but the noise. I shot a shotgun one time, and I never shot one again. The thing is too loud. It's too loud. And you see in the movies, like, you see somebody just pull up one out and just pop, pop, pop. I'm like, that junk's too loud, bro. Obviously, it's the movies, but just think about real life scenarios where somebody stays strapped. They always got the thing on them. And, somebody run up on them, and they thought they caught them lagging, but they pulled out that thing. That's too loud, bro. It's too loud. So I don't like guns in that way, that it's too noisy. I don't enjoy much of anything. Basketball is probably the loudest thing I do, and it's mainly me talking. It's mainly me making the noise. It's definitely different, as you mentioned. It's definitely not harder than you think. I was quite accurate. Your boy's different. I've been to war, bro. Like I've been over that ocean, bro. Like I've done things with guns before, bro. But it's not something I can see as a hobby. Now, I will say this: I do see guns. There's something therapeutic about cleaning guns. I do like the act of taking a gun apart and putting it back together. There's something therapeutic about that. I did a lot in basic training where we were just standing by, we were waiting, just standing by waiting, and you would take the gun and you would take it apart, and I'm sitting right next to my bed and just taking it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together. I definitely did enjoy that. But owning a gun, no, because it's too much of a hassle to store it somewhere. I don't got time. I'm busy. And then of course, the ammunition is an issue. And of course, if you bring somebody in your house, then you got to worry about where my gun's at. Does somebody have it? Did they put a body on it? Fingerprints, all these different things that you see on CSI that I just don't have the time to worry about. I'm busy. So guns are definitely interesting. I definitely love a good movie with guns in it. I love Call of Duty, but yeah, that's kind of where it stops with me. Something that I would like to continue to do? No, probably not. Hunting is not even something that's come on my radar. I love fishing, but hunting has never been something that I can really get behind. Not even bow hunting. Like, no. So we'll see. Maybe it'll change in the future. Maybe if I get some land and go out and catch some buffalo or something, we'll catch them lacking on the field, prairies or something. Maybe. But at this point in my life, pass. Great question. Corey Lacey, is this change of PT standards a good move? I think it is. It's not going to hurt anybody to walk. It's not like they made it harder. And I'm not sure if making it harder would have benefited much. It just weeded out a lot more people. So, and again, a lot of people are coming out of COVID with gained weight and they didn't really manage the time they had while they were resting. And, it hit a lot of people, including myself. I gained some weight too, just like everybody else. So, I don't think walking is the solution to everyone. Like some people need some strict standards to stay in. But yeah, it's an alternative. It's not like they're making everybody walk. It's an alternative that someone can choose, and it's still quite structured in terms of what you must do to pass the walking test. So, we'll see. Come January. Twerk X Nation with the super chat. Appreciate you, man. That's love. USAF staff in the building. It's gonna suck at times, but it's so rewarding. If you make it through the pipeline, you'll feel as though you can accomplish anything. Love the channel. Hey, appreciate you. Thank you. I mean, that's facts too. There's nothing worse than failing at something that you see other people that you would think they're less than you. Again, it's kind of wrong to compare yourself to other people. But if you see something like something I thought about in basic training, I'm like, I always thought of the people that were in the Army or in the Air Force before me. And I'm like, if they got through it, they got through basic training. Why am I struggling so much? Like, I thought I was better than I thought I was smaller. I'm in the lighter branch. I'm in the Air Force and I want to quit. They went to the Army and they made it 20 years. Like, why can't I make it through 2 months of basic training? Like, it's different. So, it's interesting, but 100% facts. Just constantly reminding yourself, like, maybe I don't have to quit. Just don't quit. Like, maybe I just stay here. Like, sometimes the only way to get through something is to just stay in it. And that's where I find myself a lot of time, especially currently in my career, where it's not so much that everything's perfect, because nothing's perfect. And I'm dealing with anxiety. I posted on Twitter the other day, like anxiety hits you when you're not expecting it. But you come to a place where, like, maybe I don't need to go 100%. Like, maybe I don't need to put the pedal down all the way down to stay in the Air Force. Maybe I just need to coast. And that's where I find myself, is like, all right, just coast, bro. Like, you've had your foot on the pedal your entire career. You made staff. All right, maybe tech sergeant is a bit far off. Coast for a little bit. Do your job, give effort, but you don't need to have your foot. You need to volunteer for everything and do everything. And I need to lead this and I lead this and lead this, and I'll take that program. Give me that program. Give me more airmen. Like, no, slow down, bro. Slow down. Play the long game. So, appreciate the super chat. Also, you followed up. Yeah, no, I got you. USA Air Force Air Traffic Control staff. I see you. I need to start doing interviews and like just kind of get in the mind of other people in the Air Force and like different career fields and what have you. It's always interesting to talk to different people who, they had a whole different tech school experience, different obviously, I believe you guys are at Keesler. It's not too different, but obviously operational could be different. Working in that little tiny cone of a building, Cinderella Tower, whatever it is. It's different. So I'm definitely interested in getting in the minds of other people. So it might be something coming down the pipeline for that. What else we got? Almighty Moreland, I see you. What's going on, man? I'm doing well. What else we got? Jordan Craddock, we got to expose him at Dias. I know a lot of people at Dias. First UTA drill weekend, first PT test. Hey, sneaks up on you. the probably the two most stressful weeks is two weeks right before the PJ test. It just sneaks right up on you. I've been there, and I'm there now. Trust me. So, yeah, we do our best. We do our best. By no means am I aiming for 100. I'm just give me a passing grade. Like just give me my 70, bro. I'll be back here 6 months later. Give me what I need, bro. That's all I need. V Michelle asks, how long do you intend on staying enlisted for? Well, all of it, because I don't plan on commissioning, to answer your question directly. But as it relates to staying in the military, I'm strongly considering palace chasing, which is simply transferring from active duty to the guard. And so that's something definitely on my radar right now. Again, I'm in my cross-train window, which allows me to switch jobs. So I'm monitoring that. I'm waiting for the jobs to update on the advisory list. And if that doesn't go well, then I will be definitely palace chasing to the guard. I've already spoke to a recruiter, and so that's something I'm considering. So I have no plans of going officer, zero. I don't want that. That's a different animal. But yeah, my goal is to never completely leave the military community. I will either be a GS employee, or I'll be a traditional guard, or AGR position, or possibly the Federal Reserves. So we'll see. We'll see. Great question. That's a fact. Yo, I kind of missed the E4 Mafia. They showed love to me while I was there. Good question by Wadner. Wadner always comes through with the good questions. Do you advise men in their late 20s to join the Air Force? Someone told me it's better to join in your late teens, mid 20s, because you can pass BMT easy. I disagree with the last statement that you can pass BMT easy. It's always going to be relative to where you're coming from. As long as you're coming from the civilian world, it's going to be somewhat difficult. It may not be, the tasks will almost never be difficult as far as, hey, go over there wearing this. That's easy. But as it relates to the environment and how long it takes, it seems like it's night and day that you're just sitting in the same room waiting for somebody to tell you something else. And you know, we got about 2 hours of nothing. That kind of gets to you. But to answer your original question, do you advise men in the late 20s to join the Air Force? Yes. Why, you might ask? There's something about structure that everyone benefits from. A lot of people think that because you go to the military, you immediately become disciplined, and it's wrong. It's wrong. I've mentioned this in previous videos. I'll mention it again. The first couple of phases of the military, joining the military, the pipeline process, it's purely based on obedience. Almost all of it. Almost all of it is simply following an instruction. You go to basic training, and even before basic training, you're following the instructions of your recruiter. But all right, let's start a basic training. You get there, and for the next 2 months, they're just going to tell you, go there, wear this, get up, go to sleep, don't talk, stand at attention, parade hest, at ease, go over there, eat this, slow down, go faster, cadence of quick time, PT, up and down, over there, go in a circle. It's purely obedience. You're not thinking for yourself. You're just getting ingrained in a system, and they're after your mind. That's all it is. The first time you have to enact upon discipline or being disciplined is tech school, where you have the option to do something. You've made it through basic training. You've completed all their tasks. You passed the test. Now you're done. So honestly, let's take it back a step. The first time you have to use discipline is passing that end of course test because you have to study for it. It's not probably the hardest test in the world. I don't think many people fail it, but it is. They're all looking for a passing grade. Did you retain any information we gave you? Did you retain any information we gave you? I got a 92 on it. I got a 92 on my PT test as well, which got me honor grad. You score 90 above on either of those tests, I believe that's still current. You still get honor grad. It's something I did deal with. So studying, anytime you have to study for something, it requires discipline. So let's go back even further. Studying for the ASVAB, it requires discipline. When are you going to study? How long are you going to study? Are you going to study distracted? Are you going to have your cell phone on? Are you watching TV? Studying requires discipline. The Air Force is the intellectual branch, more or less. Not that you have to be smart, but you need to be disciplined with your studying. Testing for staff. Most people don't make it the first time because most people don't study. So it's understanding that, in your late 20s, you should be disciplined in certain areas when you're joining the military. But a lot of people just don't understand that it's a different animal. It's not more difficult to be a civilian. It's different. It's unique. It's artificial. It's a completely different environment that you're not used to being in. And you can't be because it's designed for a certain intended purpose. So I always tell people, especially in the late 20s, you should be on a path somewhere. By your late 20s, you should have some things figured out by now. Your career, your path in life, what you want, what you desire. By your late 20s, you should be figuring out what you want, and you should be building around your desires, your path, your direction. If you don't have that, you're running out of time as a man. As a man. Late teens, mid 20s, as far as BMT, the one thing that older people struggle with, and I mentioned this in several videos, especially as it relates to older recruits, is that a lot of people just don't stretch enough. A lot of us work out, a lot of us hit the gym constantly, but most of us just don't stretch enough. And that basic training, again, it's a lot of just manual labor. It's a lot of moving. It's a lot of walking, a lot of marching, a lot of stair climbing. And so a lot of things catch up to you in terms of your body's just not built to be walking all the time. You're not used to marching everywhere. Everywhere you go, you'll be marching. You won't be in a car until you graduate basic training. So you're talking about 2.5 months of first you go from civilian world where you just move how you want to move, how you can move, what's available to you, car, bus, train, whatever you choose. And you go from that to basic training where all you do is march. You don't ride anywhere. Occasionally you'll be in the bus if it's lightning within 5. Oh, there's lightning outside. Let's put all these people on the bus and move them 1.5 miles down the road. But most of the time, you'll be marching everywhere. Most people are not prepared for that. So when your body starts reacting and your legs start getting stiff and your legs hurt and your shins hurt and you start getting shin splints, you're not ready for that. Well, how do you fix that? Hydrating, stretching, nutrition, eating enough protein. A lot of those things that most people just don't prepare. They're not prepared mentally to address those things in a military environment where you get there, you just kind of, my body hurts. How do I fix all this stuff? Like eat protein, drink water, stretch. Use your free time to kind of handle those issues because you're trying to get through it. You're not trying to go to MedHold and all right, I need to get to a doctor, get an MRI and a CAT scan and see what's wrong with my body and why I'm hurting in certain areas. Like, no, you're not valuable to the military yet. You're just a recruit. We need you to get through this process, get through tech school, learn your job, and then now we send you to your operational base. Get whatever test you want, you got it. On the house, free. TRICARE, you got it. So I always encourage men in the late 20s. Yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, 26, 27, 28, 29, it's time you pick something. And then you go on from that. You don't have to, again, military is not a life sentence. Everyone's not required to do 20 years. You're required to do 4 or 6. So just understanding that it's not a life sentence. Because you choose something doesn't mean you have to stay there. I see these posts all the time, and every time I read it, it hits home so heavy. I promise you on everything I love. I see these posts and they say, you can be successful outside the military. It's something that always hits me in my chest when I read it. I'm like, if I'm struggling and I don't want to be in this environment anymore, I've been here for almost 5 years, I can pick something else. I may not want to. I may not want to start over. I may not want to go to college, but I can pick something else. And always realize it's like when I got my first job at McDonald's when I moved to Tennessee and I got my first car. But I've been working at McDonald's for a year and I still worked there when I got my car finally. I was walking to work every day. But when I finally saved up enough money to get my first car and I realized, hey, I can work somewhere else. I don't need to work at a job that's only within walking distance. I have a car now. I have more options. And so by realizing, all right, just because I'm here now doesn't mean I have to stay here. I can move and evolve and change and apply for different jobs and gain and qualifications and certifications. I have different options now. So a lot of people join the military thinking I have to do 20 years or I just do 4. No, there's a lot of in between there. You can do 4, you can go guard, you can go reserve, you can do 20, you can do 30. So just realizing your options and staying objective about the process is what I always give advice to late recruits. Age really doesn't matter. Your destination matters more than your age. Your destination is it based in reality? Understanding the objective view of the world and what you're responsible for. So I'll leave it at that. But great question. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Most people, they fail in life because they don't move. They just sit in one spot and think too much. You will fail by being indecisive. You have failed when you are indecisive. Pick something. So that's my advice. What else we got? I've got somewhere to be tonight. Let me make sure I'm monitoring the time. Cool. What else we got? Here's some perspective. Everything you say about the branches is correct. I'm currently in the Army as a paralegal. I'm valued for my ability to provide commanders with legal advice, but 90% of Army jobs are not like that. That's facts. My boy, shout out my boy Mike. He's a paralegal in the Army as well. And yeah, in most cases, you'll have a job where, all right, this is your specialty, but before you even do all that, we need you to hold this gun real quick, man, and point it that way and run over there and hurry up and run over there. It's different. All these branches, they're in place for a reason. There's a reason why the Air Force was born out of the Army, is because, all right, we need to solve this problem, but we need to hit this problem with enough effort to be effective long term. And so, I believe the Air Force has been alive for basically 80 years or so. 80 years ago, somebody, probably Billy Mitchell or somewhere in that community, understood the value of having one community to solve one problem. It's one thing to have one huge branch and everybody do everything, but at some point you have to realize, all right, we need to focus on this issue. The air needs to be dominated. The air needs to be dominated. So, great perspective, great input there. What else we got? I feel like my neck is cramping. Maybe am I dehydrated? Am I drinking too much coffee? We got another keys player in here. John Coltrane, big fan. Yeah, percussion is slept on. It's most of my favorite genres all have amazing percussion. When it relates to my people playlist, it's mostly salsa, Caribbean, Nigerian, Ghana, those from Ghana, put it that way. Yeah, I love my people's music as it relates to percussion. Percussion is amazing. And again, you see it in many different categories as far as hip hop, real big on drums, huge on drums. There's something about percussion, drums, that connects to our heartbeat. When I listen to like binaural beats, the ones that have like the heartbeat, they're trying to mimic the heartbeat. It's something about that just kind of grounds you. You hear drum beat or bass line, percussion, piano. It's hard to explain, but you're spot on. Percussion is definitely something that connects deeply. What else we got? Yo, drop them questions, people. Drop them questions. I can't be on here too long. I'm trying to think of some of the things I was talking about earlier in the week that I wanted to touch on. Yeah, I'll drop in mad comments here. So one thing I learned on YouTube channels is that the way I interact with my chat, as far as reading every single comment for the most part, it's a luxury that you can only have for a certain amount of time. Luckily, well, I won't say luckily, but my streams don't have like huge numbers. Like I never have like 1,000 people in here watching at a time. So it's a luxury that allows me to kind of just read everything and kind of interact with the chat more personally. One day, it'll come the day where I won't be able to read everything, and it'll be different. So I always think about the small times in a YouTube channel's days where you start memorizing certain names. Like you start seeing names, you're like, yeah, I know certain names in here. Like they keep popping up regularly, or they're regular to remember the channel. And then other days coming soon, hopefully, where the channel gets to a certain level and you just can't interact on that level. So I always cherish these small days where 29 people. Enjoy the 29 people. I think the most I've ever had on here was 50 something. And again, I was impressed. I'm like, 50 people. Imagine a room with 50 people listening to what I have to talk about. So I always, especially in regards to super chats, shout out Christian Montgomery. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. You don't take those things lightly, because there may come a day where it's just a blip and you can't read all of them. You can't read all of them. So I'm grateful. What else we got? Wonders philosopher, do you think friendship is necessary in the military, particularly ones that are reachable? Do you think friendship is necessary in the military, particularly ones that are reachable? I'm gonna say yes. You mentioned friendship. You didn't mention relationships or networking. You mentioned friendship. I will say yes. The people in my life that keep me grounded the most do not live where I live. And it's probably the hardest part about being in the military is that your friends usually live elsewhere. I take the word friendship very seriously, especially as it relates to the definition of words. The issue with today's society, and I hate blaming society, I hate even that phrase, the issue with today's society, but it fits. It's relevant. Um, let's define society real quick. Society consists of a bunch of individuals. Society is the name we give to a lot of people. The group of individuals over there, we call them society. We blame society like it's a person, a single person, but it's really a group of individuals. That being said, when we start redefining words and the words don't make sense in the context of the sentence or in the definition as it relates to the actual definition of the word, the meaning of the sentence changes. So I value the word friendship as it relates to a friend and how I define a friend. Friends are quite close to family, not only because they start with F's, but because of how I view friendship and family. There are in a lot of cases in my life where I have friends that are closer than family. There are expectations set on friendships. I expect my friends to tell me the truth and risk the friendship. It shouldn't be a risk to tell me the truth, but I expect correction in my friendships. I expect guidance in my friendships, mentorship in my friendships. In a lot of cases, I do separate my mentors from my friends, but I don't mind when it's the same person because sometimes the people have experience in certain areas I don't, and they are able to mentor me in that area. I just got off the phone with a friend. She's in the chat right now, but we talk about a lot of different things I can't talk to other people about because me and her are friends, and so we have the understanding of we want correction both ways. If I'm wrong about something, you should not have any bones about saying, "Yo, that don't make no sense over there, bro. That makes zero. Why would you? That doesn't make any sense. That word does not fit in the it does not make sense. I spend a lot of time on the phone because a lot of my friends do not live here. So, in relation to your question, do you think friendship is necessary? 1,000%. 1,000%. A lot of times we are, especially in the military environments, we leave bases without making friends because we think that this friend needs to be on the same level as the friends I grew up with, or that they need to be on the same level as my best friend. Sometimes friendships are right around you, and because you did not put any effort in that moment, you missed out on a possible friendship, potential friendship. I don't think we need to have friends that fit every single category. Most often in my life, especially, and this might just be an anecdote, but I have friendships based off usually one single point of similarity. That's usually how my friendships are birthed, is we have this one thing in common and that connects us. Me and my boy Mike, in a lot of ways, we are very different. But when it comes to church and the way we grew up and the things the way we were raised, we differ almost 0%. And that's usually the one thing we connect on is that one area. Your difference determines how you get paid in the world. Your similarities create your friendships. You don't need every category to fit. Sometimes, and again, it's an issue where we want somebody to be so similar to us, almost exactly a carbon copy, that we miss out on the friendship because we wanted them to be the same as us. I'm like, no, they're a unique individual. If you have one area, you can make a friend out of that person off of one area of similarity. So I think it's imperative that you have friendships because most of the time you're going to need somebody to lean on. The issue in the military that you will run into very quickly if you don't realize this is that you're going to try to do things by yourself and you're going to fail very quickly. The military is a marathon. It's a marathon. All of it. Deployments, 6 months. That's pretty short for a military deployment, speaking in Air Force terms. But it's a long-ass time to spend by yourself. Basic training is 2 months long. I think, it might be 2.5 months. It's 8 weeks. That's a long time to be by yourself if you're not leaning on people around you. Anxiety, in a lot of cases, is a sign that you're trying to do the job of two people. You're overwhelmed because you're trying to do the job of two people. A conversation is very difficult to have by yourself. A hug is very difficult to accomplish by yourself. A relationship is impossible to have by yourself. We live in a day and age where we pride ourselves on being alone. I'm cold hearted. I don't need no help. I'm strong and independent. For what? Where in the wild do people praise people being alone? They don't. They're called prey. The lion does not go after the strong gazelle in the pack. It goes after the weak one in the back. Am I dropping bars? Am I dropping bars? I might be. It's obvious. The person that likes to isolate themselves, they get picked off first. That's how the world works. Humans are no different. Someone told you that you don't need no help. You don't need a partner. You don't need any friends. It's bad advice. It's bad advice. It's something I try to do myself. I've made so many videos on no one caring about you that people think that I just try to go through life by myself and I don't lean on anybody. No, I'm telling you about the potential of all human beings when I say that. That statement has to be explained because at face value, a lot of people just listen to the comment and say, nobody cares about me. That means I shouldn't have any friends. And it's a good thing I don't have any friends. I'm not saying that. I'm saying nobody cares about you is a default nature. It speaks to our selfishness at our core. We look out for ourselves first. But occasionally you'll come across a person who likes you for one specific reason. And you'll probably like them for a specific reason. And it might be the same reason. It might be different. The point being is that humans are meant to be different, but because of our similarities, we're able to get along. Our pain, it's pretty universal in terms of if I say ouch, you know why I'm saying ouch. You may not care, but you understand pain as a signal to the brain. It's what keeps you alive. If you didn't feel pain, you would die the first time you walked out in traffic and got hit by a car and you didn't know. You didn't feel it. So, yeah. Friendship is imperative. Relationships are imperative. Networking is imperative. Understanding the value of other human beings. It's how you accomplish your journey in this world. Shout out to Maybelline Sturdivant. Bishop Maybelline Sturdivant. She passed, I believe it was 2 days ago, of cancer. And one thing I will say as it relates to my current position is that she is quite responsible for a lot of my current success. I'm not saying that she alone, led any major, processes or taskings in my life, but she played a major role in my life. Not only as a leader in my life, as a role model, but someone who helped me when I needed help. When I was civilian, when I was broke, when I was driving a busted 96 Ford Ranger. When my car went up in smoke, literally. And I'm trying to figure, all right, what's a head gasket? Why is my head gasket imperative to my car functioning properly? Flat tires, So again, to provide a little bit of context, she was my pastor and I played piano. Again, I played piano for the church. And that was at one point in my life, the happiest time of my life when I was playing full-time piano. I worked for that church 3 hours a day. I showed up to that church and played piano. That was my only job. And of course, there were times where I was broke. And most of the time I was broke because it wasn't paying crazy amount of money, but it was enough to pay my bills. And that's where I was happiest, was like, I'm doing something I love to do, something that comes easily to me. I'm not overthinking. I'm not sitting there at the piano just, what's a C? Well, what's an A flat? How do I accomplish this song? Like, it was just something that came naturally. Shout out to my mom for putting a piano in the house. It's something I learned by ear. And so I could play anything I was able to hear. So she was my employer. But in the way I saw it was I was working for myself and she allowed me that freedom and that liberty to do so, to play piano for that church. In a lot of cases, there's a lot of days, a lot of weeks, a lot of months where I was struggling financially and I would just simply ask, can I get an advance on Sunday's check or next Sunday's check or the next month of checks? And she showed love. She helped me. And so a lot of cases, and this is what I constantly impress on people, is that you will always get to a point where you think you don't need somebody. Humility is probably the number one thing you need when it comes to becoming successful. It's because it keeps you grounded. You will not get where you're going by yourself, and you have not gotten where you are by yourself. It's the constant need to say, I did, I accomplished, I did. Entitlement, pride, it will stop your progress quicker than anything else. And so shout out to her. She's resting easy. And yeah, I did want to make this, this moment and, show her love publicly. But yeah, I wasn't able to get to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to Clarksville, Tennessee, enough time to see her. Um, I've heard a lot of stories of her final moments, and it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, we give her honor. We give her honor on here. So there's that segment. But yeah, great question. Friendship is imperative, and so yeah, humility. It's how you make friends. A lot of people go into friendships with entitlement. I'm like, that's not how that works. So yeah, keep that in mind. I'll probably do another segment on that as far as humility and how to network properly. What else we got? Corey Lacey asks, what makes you want to stay enlisted? Do you want to be an officer? I'll answer your last question first. I don't want to become an officer at all. It's a different animal, different roles, different responsibilities. He's in this text. Yeah, I do not want to be an officer. There's nothing about it that attracts me outside of the money. And so let that reality set in that money's not everything. Some things you just like, no, I'll stay in my position. I'll stay where I'm at before I start trying to get more, different, or excess. Let me stay where I'm at and maximize what I currently have. But to answer your first question, what makes you want to stay enlisted? I'll answer that question the way I interpret it, meaning what makes me want to stay in the military. Because I don't think I've really talked about this. To be honest with you, the 28 of you watching right now, the number one thing that keeps me in the military is fear. It's fear. We must take the cup before, or after, rather, of being so honest, with the populace. Fear is the number one reason I stay in the military. And it's what keeps a lot of people on. There's something about a guaranteed paycheck that comes first and 15th that slowly lulls you to sleep. I've made multiple videos on how the military will put you to sleep quietly, and then you'll wake up one day and realize, all right, that's not how the rest of the world works. That there are a lot of salary-based jobs or contract-based jobs, but in a lot of times in the civilian world, you can be fired. Hey, don't bother coming in tomorrow. We need you to not work here no more. Thank you for your time and your service. It's not something we experience in the military because we're contract based, and there are a lot of L's you can take in the military while still being employed. And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna mess with your check a little bit. Don't worry about getting a check. Don't worry about paying bills. We got you. We're gonna put you in T status a little while, just to help you out, help you figure it out. Oh, Arc 15, cool. Month no pay. Don't worry about it. We got you. We'll take care of it. We'll call you. You don't call us. We'll take care of it. But yeah, it's quite comforting to be in the military. A lot of people don't realize what they have until they leave. Luckily, when I was a civilian, before I came in, I realized what I was coming to. I'm like, I don't want to pay rent anymore. I'm tired of paying rent, bro. So now I have VH, and effectively they pay my rent. They give me the money, and I pay my rent with it. So there are a lot of comforts that a lot of people don't realize they have until they leave. And I'm like, all I gotta do is pass PE tests and just be obedient in a lot of cases. And in some cases I gotta lead, and sometimes I gotta take initiative and be proactive. But in a lot of cases, you just don't realize what you have until it's gone, until you have to replace it with effort. Like civilian world, they can enforce your effort because they can fire you tomorrow. Military, we don't get fired. We get paperwork, we get extra duty, but that's about it. And then, of course, there's ways to code people and put them on control rosters. All right, this person does not need to re-enlist at all. Once your contract's up, go elsewhere. You're able to be coded. Don't deploy this person. We don't want them out there. Don't PCS this person. We don't need them anywhere else but where they currently are. So it's something that the military doesn't have to deal with a lot, but it's something that is brought to the forefront once we get out the military. And it's like a brick wall. The second you leave this environment, you realize, all right, I don't have a check coming. Like I got my final check last week, and then I need to get a job, and the job may not pay as well because, again, military benefits are through the roof. A lot of people in the military don't realize I have amazing benefits here. I have lawyers on retainer. It's called legal. It's JA. If I need to consult on a legal matter, I just go straight down there and I don't pay anything. If I have a medical issue, I just walk in. I just walk in. I have a cat card. I don't need insurance. I have insurance, but I have a cat card. Here's my cat card. Everything's attached. If I want to take a flight to a different base, all I gotta do is find a base with a plane going to that base, and I get to ride for free. It's called Space A, space available. I can hop on any military plane, provided there's space, provided I'm in the leave status. But as long as it's going from a base to another base or a different location, wherever, I can ride on that plane for free as long as there's space and as long as I'm on leave. It costs me like $5. There are certain benefits that you don't even realize you have, and you're like, bro, this is, once you're in the military or back in the civilian world, and like, here's your $900 check. Good luck. You got 2 weeks to make it last. You got to pay rent with that. You got to get groceries, gas, insurance, phone bills. It's different. It's different. So honestly, the number one thing that keeps me in the military is fear. I want that 20-year retirement, a guaranteed check the rest of my life. That's not something light to think about. A lot of companies don't offer pensions, and if they do, it's possible to lose your pension. So yeah, I trust the federal government as it relates to retirements more than I trust corporations. It's fear. And of course, I don't have many outside of YouTube, my podcast, the other small streams of income that I have. I'm building those streams of income. I can't live off them currently. I can't. Now I could be homeless with them because I just have income coming through YouTube. I just find a Starbucks, upload a video, find an outlet, charge my phone. I can make videos endlessly and still get a check from YouTube. But you get used to a certain quality of life that I don't want to go back to walking. I like having multiple gym memberships. I like being able to buy clothes and shop on Amazon, and I like air conditioning. It's pretty nice. I like big screen TVs rather than watching TV on my phone. You get used to certain things and you realize this environment has afforded me a lot of these things. And of course, you have to constantly get back to the part of, yeah, I'm grateful for these things. And gratitude will help you last long in the military, realizing I enjoy what I have in this environment. It's not found everywhere. When you deploy, you have I had a 24-hour DFAC with chips and cookies and donuts and just everything lining the walls. And then of course you get like 3 hot meals a day. You got midnight chow, but like having a 24-hour DFAC where you don't pay for any food. You just walk in and take what you want, walk out. You don't pay for gas in the vehicles. When I was deployed, I was driving to Dubai and driving in Abu Dhabi. You don't pay for anything. When you travel, you get reimbursed for everything. So in most cases, when you have a GTC card, you don't pay for anything out of your pocket. You don't have to. When you PCS, you don't have to pay out of pocket for anything, provided you live within reason. There are a lot of areas in the military that you just don't realize. I don't have to pay for anything I don't create. When it comes to food, they give you $400 a month for food. Comes to rent, they give you BH for the local zip code. They account for cost of living. It's called COLA. You go overseas, they pay for everything. So you start realizing, all right, these are great resources. I will be a fool to not take advantage of them. And again, it's not a reason to endlessly stay in the military environment, because again, I'm waiting for certain things to pop, and then if that doesn't happen, retirement, and then I'll go live on an island somewhere. But the point being is that fear does control a lot of, and it's something you probably won't hear that often, because you hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting out of the military, this sucks, and I don't like leadership, and I don't like this. But if you ask somebody, all right, leave tomorrow. If you don't like it, leave. If stuff is so bad, why aren't you trying to leave? It's because a lot of people realize, and especially in hindsight, that we actually have it pretty nice. Especially in the Air Force, we're not struggling that bad. The biggest thing that I struggle with at work are personalities. That's literally my biggest struggle at work currently is personalities, people. That's about it. So understanding that, and switching the switch to gratitude, you understand, all right, maybe I don't want to leave so quickly. So yeah, it's not an easy environment to walk away from. There may come a day where it becomes necessary, but at this current place, I'm literally acknowledging the fact that fear does control a lot of my decisions as it relates to leaving and leaving the military. It's something I do think about. So that may change, but currently that's the most honest answer I can give you is fear. Fear being irrational, of course, but we'll leave it at that. What else we got? Wagner with a controversial question, and I'm going to answer it very tactfully and with great wisdom and intent. You get with military girls. Is it true that most military females sleep around when they married? It's a good question, Water. So the answer to your first question is yes. Um, yes, I'll leave it at that. Is it true that most military females sleep around when they're married? I would change that question to: is it true that people sleep around in the military? The answer is yes. It only takes one deployment to see that everyone's for the streets. Like it's quite clear. The first day you land may be peaceful, nobody doing anything. I just love my family and my spouse at home is supporting me while I'm overseas, and I'm the troops and the ground troops. I'm just serving my country. And then the first month goes by and everybody's good. Everybody's strong. All right, we're all working out. We're all serving our country, posting some fancy pictures, and we're all networking. And the month two comes around, and it kind of drops down a little bit. All right, I ain't gonna volunteer as much. I got 4 more months. I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm chilling. I'm chilling. And month three comes around, and everybody's itching. I'm like, all right, it's been a couple months since I got some, man. And married or otherwise, people struggle because again, you're in an artificial environment. The deployed environment, it's not supposed to be there. It's there very intently for a temporal purpose. So the people there struggle because again, it's not supposed to be there. You have a lot of amenities that might be available to you: unlimited water, unlimited food, all that. Cool, but you're there for a purpose, and it's hard to distract from your humanity. We still have hormones when we deploy, both male and female. We deal with hormones. So to turn those off just because we're deployed, it's not how that works. Month 3, month 4, month 5 is like it's straight panic. People just take whatever they can get. Hey, what's your name, young lady? Let me holler at you real quick, man. Let me talk to you real quick. Who your people is, man? Who your people is, man? People got needs. And again, it's my opinion that from my deployment experience, just from one 6-month period, I noticed and acknowledged the fact that everyone's for the streets. Everyone. They're loyal to you now, today, because it's convenient, because it's necessary, because it has a lot of benefits. But everyone in a pressurized environment at the right price will betray someone. Could be the loved one, wife, kids, or husband, it doesn't matter. Everyone has a price. Everyone has a price for compromise. And it's reality based. It's not my opinion, it's something I observed. And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect through all this. I'm saying brother had needs too. I'll leave it at that. But it's very interesting. I'm never one to just they're doing this. This demographic is doing this. This demographic is bad at this. No, humans are flawed. We're not perfect, and we succumb to temptation on a universal level. It's why I'm very slow to commit to someone for a lifetime. For what? To find out later that, they weren't committing to me for a lifetime. They did not love me for a lifetime unconditionally, like they said they did. That's not how humans work. And the quicker we acknowledge this, the easier life becomes. Why are we going through life thinking that humans are different than the way they are? We spend so much effort trying to change other people from how they are to how we want them to be. You're going to wake up one day with no results. That's not how that works. People are who they are, and you either take them as is or walk away. That's the real world. So hope I answered your question. It's very controversial in terms of, a lot of different variables that must be accounted for, but decision making, start with accountability. In any case, start with accountability. We would love to point the finger and say, they not doing what they supposed to be doing. They did this, they betrayed me, they cheated, they did whatever. But you can't control any of that. You control what you do, what you respond to, how you respond to things, when you respond to things of that nature. So hope that helps. Question from Alexis Rodriguez. Do you know anyone in Space Force? If so, what do they do and do they like it? I know several people. So when I was stationed in Alaska, I was at a Space Force base, believe it or not, Space Force installation called Clear Air Force Station. It's about an hour and a half south of Eielson Air Force Base. It's in the interior of Alaska. It's a horrible place. Do not go there. Horrible place. Some people love it up there, which is interesting. But anyway, the whole base is Space Force. The leadership there are space officers. You might have a few operators that work the radars that are also Space Force. I believe it's one. I want to get into AFC dropping. But basically, they work on the radars. Those who work inside the radar are Space Force. It's a Space Force installation. It's owned by Delta 4. So, yeah, when I was up there, there were several of my leadership who transferred while I was there into the Space Force. The whole ceremony for it. I believe I did the photography for it. And then also, just several friends that work on radars around the world who are also space operators. I know one that went to FTAC with, first term airman something. But basically, it's where you meet other airmen that just got to their first base. And so you meet all the first term, it's called FTAC. And you go in there for a week or 2 weeks, and you sit in there, you just go through a course, curriculum, and then at the end of the day, you wear blues and you graduate, whatever. But that's the opportunity to network. Well, I've met one young lady. She was there. Actually, it was two people, but of course, I connected with her because for obvious reasons. But yeah, she's now Space Force, and we keep in contact. We're friends on Facebook and all that. So, she works on radars as well. I don't know many other AFSCs that are in the Space Force outside of radar operators. Again, they just monitor things that are bigger than softballs flying too fast in the air. If you're moving too fast, we will know about it. If you're too big, too small, well, too big rather, we're going to know about things that shouldn't be. And so that's really the kind of the point of Space Force, is to kind of monitor areas that are not currently being, or they've always been monitored, but to, again, kind of like the Air Force was born out of the Space Force, the Air Force born out of the Army, the Space Force born out of the Air Force to attack a certain problem, a certain task, a certain problem is being addressed in the Space Force. So, great question. Great question. Oh, last question. Last part of your question. Do they like it? I haven't heard any complaints. They do enjoy like the new car smell of the Space Force. The blue name tapes. They think they different. I'm like, you're not different, bro. You just a dusty airman who's transferred and got new wings. So, great question though. Oh my God. Almighty Moreland. In my opinion, I believe a society is a group of people who agree to live by certain guidelines rather than just a group of people. So in some ways, it's justified blaming society we live in. Yeah, I guess I'll have to push back a little bit. I believe society is a group of people who agree to live by certain guidelines. No, because societies include criminals. And societies also include idiots, people that are wrong, the ignorant, the unread, people that don't know, who haven't asked. Societies include these people. And so to say that they live by certain guidelines, it's a very generalized truth that I guess could be accurate, but you have to define those guidelines. And the second I find who guidelines, your definition kind of falls apart. So definitions have to be inclusive and they can't be too absolute, well, absolute at all, because usually we just go find one exception and then that falls apart. It's like saying gravity is mostly true. I'm like, well, there's never been a moment where gravity stops working. It's consistent. So laws are very consistent and testable via the scientific method. But yeah, we'll leave that alone. So yeah, I mostly agree with your statement. I don't want to nitpick, but yeah, words do have meaning. We'll leave it at that. Mind body with the Corey Lacey with the big drop. I see you. Greedy as hell. Most attractive women out of all the branches by far. It's not even close. It's not even debatable. It's not even close. I'm not gonna get into the reasoning. It's irrelevant, honestly. But yes. And of course, we are grateful for this reality. I would not want to be in any other branch, with maybe the Marines, but no, pass. Great question. No, you can't, man. No, you can't. What else we got? 623 works. Catching the stream for the first time. Hey, hit that notification button. See, that's the problem with y'all dusty subscribers, man. Appreciate you popping in, man. It looks for all the podcast level videos. Hey, I do what I can, man. I just try to serve the people. Try to help out. Feed the families and give people what they need. Jeff Jones from Fort Worth. Hey, you right in the street, bro. Right down the street, Fort Worth, Dallas area. I always be around there making noise, acting a fool. Dallas area. Not really one of my favorite cities. It's probably third behind Austin and Houston. But it's top 3. This mouse is different. Why would you jump so far? Yo, hit me with some questions, people. Again, and like, here's my thing about questions is a lot of these questions I've answered before is why I always try to I post the clips, because a lot of times I put it on the short clips playlist because a lot of these questions are repetitive, and so I make it a great effort to avoid repetitive questions and really try to dig deep personally. And it's like, all right, can I even answer this question? Like, do I have the data to pull from? Like, am I well read enough? But yeah, it's always fun answering like a very well crafted, well thought out question because they're rare. And of course, the answers that therefore are rare because of the question. So just my little input. KH, being medically retired and 100% VA has allowed me to keep all the benefits that you just mentioned, and I couldn't be more thankful. Talks about, hey! Now, when I talk about people that are living the good life, I've always asked myself the question, and again, I don't want to make light of the fact that some people are living without limbs and have taken certain L's, as relates to the realities of, war zones and being outside the wire and certain tasks that need to be accomplished that everyone's not equipped to do. Like myself, I'm not a special operator. I'm not equipped mentally nor physically to go do what certain people are doing. So I don't take that lightly. But I have to pause at the question of, would I sacrifice my health for 100% VA medically retired benefit package? How much of my health would I sacrifice for that? And it's a question that plagues me because, again, everybody has a price. Would I sacrifice my legs for 100% retirement? My hearing, my sight, my smell. I might give my smell up. My smell is, I don't know. As you can see, I love, and why did my stuff go out? I have a passion for incense, for colognes. I don't skip on my cologne. Cologne, by the way, is the #1 pickup line. It's the best pickup line available today. You don't need to say anything. You just walk in a room and breathe, and people notice you different. But yeah, that question plagues me because I ask myself, I'm like, as much as I want a medical retirement, because again, you see other people with it. I'm like I was talking to a subscriber, and she was medically disqualified from basic training for a underlying condition, and now she's medically retired. That easy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm out here serving just out here doing what I can for the people, and some people are sitting at home getting paid the same check, but they had to suffer in a certain area. So it's an interesting question that I'm plagued by, is like, would I sacrifice my health for a check? I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to ever face that reality, because again, I don't think there's anything more valuable than your health, like the ability to go run, walk, play sports, move about as you see fit, your mental health especially, because everything's connected to that. I don't take that lightly, but it's always something that's kind of plagued me. It's just that medical retirement sitting over there. So for those who have served and who have succumbed to some injuries or taken some L's in certain areas of their life or their body, you deserve it. So best of. Well, I don't. My question would be, and this is an interesting question that Cage, I'm not sure if you're willing to answer it, but if you are, just throw it in the chat. Would you trade your 100% VA benefits and your retirement for whatever health ailment that you're suffering with to be rectified? If you had the opportunity to say, all right, whatever got you that 100% retirement, would you trade that for all your health? That's what I'm intrigued by, is like, would you get all of the money back? You don't got to work. You don't got to go nowhere. You just wake up and the check pop up. All the benefits still there. Would you trade all that for your health? If you're willing to answer that, please do. I'll be monitoring because like that intrigues me. Like I don't know. I don't know. What else we got? Yeah. Super Zavi goes to basic training in 10 days. I'm 17. I see you. I see you. Corey Lacey asks, am I taking it 1 year at a time or do I want to do 20? From where I currently, and every time I get asked this question, I always answer it differently. I want to get out, honestly. I'm tired. You understand? You understand? I am tired. The government runs like a machine, like an assembly line. It doesn't turn off. It just goes. And the human body is not meant to do that. Now, are we able to adapt? Of course. Are we able to be resilient? Like we have all these benefits. We have mental health available. We have all these counselors and chaplains. We have all these different benefits and programs that are available to us, which are meant to help you along this journey. And of course, the ability to cross train and go into DSG positions and be recruiters or MTIs. So we have all these different options in terms of not getting jet lagged or getting tired of being in one position doing everything. But the military as a whole does get tiresome. That's why the Guard and the Reserve is attractive to a lot of people because it's a slower pace, but it's the same thing. It's not continuous. It's just something different. So where I sit today, I want to do 20, but I probably end up going to the Guard, honestly, and probably do 30 years there. Slower pace, more options. I can volunteer for deployments as they come up. So it's different. It's different. So I'll probably make a video about that, the Palace Chase environment and how that contrasts with the active duty. So we'll see. We'll see. 623 with the, I want to serve. Yeah. That's like, and of course in the military, you'll come across those people that have this blue mindset. Hey, I'm just here to, I want to get the mission. Like certain words like mission and service and integrity. Like you understand what the words mean and why they're there, but sometimes it's a bit much. I'm like, all right, we get the point. You love the troops and the ground troops and just the America and the guns, and we're going to go over there and liberate their oil for them, and we're going to help them bring the oil back to us. We're going to help them liberate their precious minerals, and they don't need those precious minerals. We got to help them give them back to us. That's our mission to the civilians and the Congress. It's too much. It makes me tired hearing it. And it's like I was watching one video by Chris Hansen, you know, like the Predator, like to catch a Predator videos. And every time he encounters a military person, every time a military person walks in the house, he immediately tries to get to the fact that they were in Iraq. And I'm like, bruh, does he have an obsession with Iraq? Like every time there's an Army guy, 2 Army guys, there's a lot of Army guys, a couple of Air Force guys, one guy that was a civilian working in a Air Force finance office, which was on Tim. But yeah, every time it's a military person, he just, have you been to Iraq? Have you, before we get to the child stuff, have you been to Iraq? You served in Iraq? You saw action? Like all those cliche terms, it drives me up the wall. I'm like, bruh, all of us not going to Iraq, bruh. And beyond that, just why do you keep asking? You never mention Afghanistan. You didn't mention Kuwait. You didn't mention Qatar, Al Dafir. You didn't mention none of these spots. Syria, Turkey. You didn't mention nothing. You just have you been to Iraq? Have you seen action, son? It's too much. It's too much. So that's my little rant on some of the cliche stuff that you just it gets tiresome to hear some of this stuff, but some people just love the truth. It's too much. What else we got? Jay Nice with the truth. I remember my friend told me he saw a bunch of people taking off the rings when they were getting deployed and started to sleep. Hey, listen, people got needs. I'm the last person to tell people that you need to be monogamous, you need to be faithful, and you need to serve your spouse and loyalty and covenant and all these words that are not mentioned in divorce court. The only thing you hear in divorce court is children and money, assets. That's it. I'm like, that's not my business. But yeah, a human's true nature comes when there's no big brother watching, when there's no accountability to be had, is when you see true human nature. And the boy environments just happen to be one of those environments where a lot of people just see it as the cat's away, the mice will play. Let's go touch some stuff. And I mean, it's not up to me. It's not up to me. It's one of the major reasons why I'm not married while I'm in the military, and I don't foresee myself getting married while in active duty position, or in the military, even for the foreseeable future. I don't trust humans like that. I trust humans in areas that I know humans to be kind of consistent in, but when it comes to deployed, 6 months away, I can't sleep with nobody else. You can't sleep with nobody else. Neither one of us can truly monitor the other person's actions, and I just got to trust that you're doing certain, and you got to trust that I'm doing certain. There's no accountability there. One of the major pillars of a relationship is accountability, not to yourself, but to the other person. It's like, and this is one of the topics I wanted to talk about, so I might as well segue directly into it. How do we define cheating? It's something we have to talk about. You hear the term constantly thrown around. You got monogamy, you got polyamory, you got polygamy, you got open relationships, you got all these different variants. Cool. We're in 2021. There's plenty of stuff to go around. Everybody pick something and just run with it. Cool. But how do you define cheating? The issue with cheating is that it requires an understanding between both individuals, or how many other people are involved, because God knows what exists today. And again, I'm not putting judgment on it because I'm different. You understand? Now, when it comes to cheating, cheating must be relative to the rules in place. If you have a Uno game, which again, I'm known to dominate it, and I'm probably undefeated. Honestly, I am undefeated. I've never lost that Uno. Let that be known to the masses and to the populace. I don't lose in anything. Matter of fact, just throw that out there. So the rules of Uno, they're arguable, all of them. Nobody reads the box. Like we have house rules, we got skips, we got stacks, we got all these different things. Cool. Now, I want to go on that tangent. We only know someone is cheating because of the rules in place. That's the only way you know somebody's cheating, is what rules are in. These are the established rules. Cheating is relative to the rules. When it comes to relationship, the rules need to be clear as day. What are we? Are we monogamous? If we're monogamous, we need to define what cheating is for a monogamous relationship. If there's just me and you, what is cheating? And again, cheating is not defined by you for yourself. You don't decide for yourself. Cheating for me is intercourse, coitus. And then for you, no, the other person defines cheating for you. That's what accountability is in a relationship context, is that the other person decides for you. Cheating for you is text messaging anyone that's not like official business, which even that's kind of relative. Even that's kind of subjective. So it needs to be something that is enforceable, a standard-based requirement, a standard-based, I don't want to say rule, because rule, standard. How do we enforce this? So in a lot of modern relationships, you have someone who says, cheating for me is intercourse. Cheating for you is an emotional conversation, which again, that's relative. Like, I can't stand subjective. It's so much wiggle room and gray areas that it doesn't matter, because I can just interpret it in any way I want to wiggle around it. Intercourse is something it's easily measurable. Did you intercourse that person? And then the answer is like that's a real easy way to determine whether somebody's cheating. But there's a lot of ways to cheat. There's emotional cheating, there's social cheating, that there's we held hands in the middle of the parking lot where no one can see. Is that cheating? Well, that's a conversation that needs to evolve over time with your partner or partners. That's a conversation. It's not something that just happens. They cheated. How did they cheat? Did y'all discuss what y'all's relationship was and the boundaries? Did y'all have a conversation about what cheating actually was in the context of your relationship? That's the issue I have with cheating, is that it's never defined. It's just kind of abstract. It's something. So I had a dream that you were cheating. What does that mean? What does that mean? I looked at somebody. I used my eyes to do what they're designed to do. I looked across and I saw somebody. Is that cheating? Is winking at somebody cheating? Is a kiss cheating? Is holding hands cheating? Is going out on a date cheating? Or is intercourse the only way that I can cheat with somebody? Sexual relations, coitus. Is that cheating? That's the conversation that usually I struggle with as relates to, do I want to deploy with a lot of these terms just kind of being out there and just random? And again, you don't need to be married to have relationships. You don't need to be married to have children. No one is advising that you should do so, but a lot of these things now require the contractual agreement with the government and all parties involved. Of course, your lawyers and your judge and what have you. It's not required. It's a personal choice that one has to make to say, I want to enter this agreement with this other party and the government and what have you. So that's my little rant on cheating. It's something that needs to be talked about openly, because why are people complaining about it so much? Like, all right, let's talk about it then. It's affecting a lot of people's lives as far as no one wants to be cheated on, but then define cheating. So it's something that really needs to be addressed from an open standpoint, not the targeting people, not going after people and say, you did this and you should have did this, and accountability just be thrown at people's feet. I'm like, well, let's all take some accountability, because this is a conversation that needs to be ongoing. It's not something you just establish day one and say, all right, do not intercourse anyone else and don't kiss nobody else and don't look at nobody else, don't hold hands with nobody else. And that's it. Because there's a lot of wiggle room in a lot of that. Intimacy is between minds. It has nothing to do with the flesh. I can be intimate with somebody by talking to them, by staring in their eyes. It's different. It's different. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, was that even the question you asked? Was that even the question you? I think it was a comment. Anyway, I love a good tangent. It just makes my teeth white. Yeah. Shout out Paul Moon. Giovanni said you gotta take a Bible. Hey, take that everywhere you go. I'm not even gonna read some of y'all stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna avoid a lot of y'all comments, but a lot of it's facts though. A lot of it's facts. Wonder Pet, can you retire as an E5 or do they boot you for not making rank? Yes, you can retire E5. E4 and below, they will. It's called higher tenure. They will put your behind out if you do not progress in a given environment. Promotion is a sign that you're excelling in that environment. So you should be promoting. I'm not saying, and this is one of the things I want to talk about as well. Another little good tangent. Do I regret making staff first time? Do I regret making staff sergeant the first time? When I came in, I was so obsessed with, I want the fanciest, top secret, top level, fanciest job I can find. Also, along with that, I want to promote every single year and serve my country. I just want to promote if there's an opportunity to promote, I want it. If there's an opportunity to compete, I want to win everything. And one thing the contrast from where I sit today is that a lot of that stuff I don't care about anymore. Mainly because I've achieved most of it, if not all of it. I did make staff first time. Making staff in 3 years, it's arguable whether or not that's necessary to the military. Some people deserve to make staff for first time. People like myself who just studied and we make it first time, it doesn't really speak to our competence. It speaks to lack of competence in other people that, all right, you should have made it. Why didn't you? Oh, you didn't study. All right, cool. So it's an ongoing debate as whether or not we should have 3-year staff sergeants. But again, you never want your experience to outweigh your rank. And it's something you have to grow into. It's something you have to accept. If you do achieve something like that where you have more rank than you have experience, it's something you have to grow into. But yeah, I've kind of thought about the fact that could I have benefited from a couple more years as a senior airman? Would that have benefited me? Was I ready to be a supervisor? Was I ready to be NCO? Debatable. Just because you're older doesn't make you a supervisor, and a good supervisor at that. Just because you have life experience in the civilian world does not make you a good military supervisor. And a lot of the turbulence I'm experiencing currently is due to the fact that a lot of things I've just not experienced in. It's not that I can't do the job, it's that I have to lean on people that do have experience. Therefore, and thusly, I need a mentor. That's how you kind of fix it. So it's not the end of the world that you make, we're talking like it's a negative. You may rank first time, boo, what was you? No, a lot of people are just not ready. Like I can admit personally that there's a lot of things about supervisor that I struggle with. I struggle with teamwork. I struggle with delegating. I struggle with desired end result that I want or something that was tasked to me. And I say, all right, this needs to be done at this time. And I delegate and it's not done or it's not done right. then I got to go back and do it right, or they blame me for this not being done right. I'm like, all right, do I micromanage now? Do I stand over their shoulder and do it basically for them? And then I'm still learning a lot of these different principles of how to be a good team leader. And it's not something you learn overnight. It's something you grow into. So a lot of growing pains, but yeah. But yeah, you can retire at E5. And it's something that's crossed my mind. I'm like, I don't care about promotion. No, I'm like, I'll stay at E5 till 15 years, make tech, and just call it a day. But no. So we'll see. What else we got? Mind, Body, and Water are having these personal conversations in my chat. I'm gonna block both of y'all. No, it's fine. What else we got? I'm not gonna answer that question, Jeff Jones, but we can talk offline if you would like. It's a good question. But yeah, not on here. This is sacred ground, politic free, if you will. 623 works. Can he survive without a car comfortably in the Air Force? I hate the expenses and the complications that come with a car. Not comfortably, no. Comfortably being relative, subjective to the individual. There's certain, so depends on where you live. If you live on base, you can definitely live without a car. Definitely. You can't live without a license. I'll definitely say that. You need a license to be in the military. You don't need one to get in the military, but you need a license to do a lot of things in the military. Deploying without a license is uncomfortable for everyone around you because now they have to make up ground where you can't, if you say, hey, take that vehicle over there or go pick up these people at the gate, you can't drive a vehicle. It just kind of, most people are expected to have a license in the military. My brother joined without a license. So yeah, you're able to join the military without a license, but there's a lot of things you can't do in the military without a license. Certain AFSCs you can't be in certain AFSCs without a license. So, but yeah, besides that, cars can be complicated. Cars can be inconvenient. But the other day, I ruck marched to work there and back. I think it was like a Thursday. 7 miles to work, 7 miles back, and I had to walk around the base while I was there. So it was a total of literally 20 miles I walked in one day. For Army and Marines, that might be light work. For an airman, for a person like myself who does not do manual labor, I suffered. My joints talked heavy to me. My legs were on 10, like my feet just hurting. But it was interesting. It's interesting. Now having to do that every day, I could not do that every day. I don't know how some people do it. Some people enjoy rucking or hiking long distances or, running 10 miles in a day. I'm like, pass, bro, pass. So yeah, you can live comfortably without a car in the military. You probably have to live on base just because in certain cities you're going to be some distance away depending on the prices and availability. But yeah, in certain cases you will need a car. And so it's not something you will have to have. Like I'm a huge advocate of leasing cars while in the military, mainly because if you get orders, you can turn the car back in. You're not forced to keep a car with you if you own it. Whereas if you're leasing the car, the second you get orders, you can terminate that lease ASAP. That same applies to your housing unit. If you sign a lease and they say, oh, we got orders, show them the orders. Wrap that up. Gotta go. And so, yeah, that's my take. What else we got? I'm not gonna be much longer. My coffee's starting to wear off, and I don't feel like re-administering at this time of night. Michael Edwards asks, what branch is better at basketball, and what branch would you drop the most buckets on just because you don't like that branch? Hey, that's a very valid question and very necessary question. Obviously, the best branch at basketball is the Air Force, the United States Air Force. It's not even close. The Army, they are not good at the sport. The Marines should not even come to the court. The Navy has never heard of basketball. Therefore, they would never even attempt to do so. Space Force, that's laughable to even ask the question. Coast Guard, they're not in this conversation. The Air Force is by far the best branch at basketball. It's never been close, never will be close. I was embarrassed to be on the Air Force team when I was deployed. We played against the Army. And it was embarrassing for them. I was embarrassed to see them take a L in that manner. I only gave them 2 points. I came off the bench and gave them buckets ASAP. Our team was stacked, but it was necessary that I give them that 2 points. Fast break, laid up off the glass, and that's what I do. I give the Army buckets. You understand? Now, to answer the other part of your question, what branch would I drop the most buckets on? Because I don't like that branch. Probably the Army, just because they're so disrespectful. They fail to acknowledge our military-ness, calling us chair force and what have you. Just because you sleep in tents and sleeping bags and you enjoy the dirt and the weather, what have you. That's not my fault. You understand? So the Army will definitely get buckets. I'll probably give them 30, 10 and 7, something like that. That's just what I'm known for. It's not on me. It's just what I'm known for, to pass out to people. So great question, though. Great question. It's something that needs to be acknowledged, that the other branches are just not good at sports. And it's unfortunate in that way. So we'll leave it at that. What else we got? Wonder Pet, been watching your videos for a while. Could you shed some light on your weight loss ideals? I'm roughly 90 pounds over requirements. What would you recommend? That said, I am a male, 5'10", 5'11". Cool. So weight loss is something that I've struggled with off and on since 2014-ish. I will be the last person to tell you that I have it all figured out. I am a student. Also, I struggle in discipline. Not so much in discipline, but in consistency with discipline as it relates to my diet. Weights are probably the easiest part when it comes to fitness. I dabble between 5 and 5x5 as far as weight training, strength training. And then, of course, I have some bodybuilding protocols that I dabble in as well. I've done CrossFit a couple times. I do some boot camp, morning workouts sometimes. My workouts vary. Like today, I just did upper body. I did some pull-ups, push-ups, basically things that mimic the PT test, just because I'm preparing for that. A little bit shoulder work, but my right shoulder is kind of finicky from volleyball. So I play basketball today as well. And so I pretty much live an athletic life in most cases. I'm not really a couch potato in that way. But your best bet is, first of all, education is probably the biggest piece. I spend a lot of my time researching things, even though I know I can't do something consistently. I know what to do. It's called cognitive dissonance, where you know what to do, but you don't do it. And it's not so much to do it once, but it's to do it consistently. That's the whole point of doing anything, is to get results after you do it consistently. So what I'm on currently is what you would call the carnivore diet. This is day 14 for me. I have a little reminder on my screen. Yep, day 14. To put it simply, you eat little to no carbs, if not zero. You eat meat products. Excuse me. I eat steak, pork, bacon, eggs, pork chops, chicken breasts, chicken thighs. I eat meat. Pause. Simple as that. Simple as that. Now, the hardest part of the carnivore is unlearning everything you've ever thought about red meat, pork, cholesterol, LDL, the constant preaching and propaganda of what you always heard about meat is bad for you, plant-based diets are perfect for you. You will hear it again, and the internet is so riddled and full of it that you can find any argument and find pros and cons for it. If you research right now why the vegan diet is the perfect diet and the only diet for you, why meat is bad, you will find thousands of videos for that. You will find a ton of vegan influencers and all their products and all their bean proteins and kale shake, grass fed, like you'll find all that stuff. And then you switch over and go to carnivore and you'll find all the diets for carnivore and keto and Atkins and paleo. You'll have a whole community represented just as well. The biggest thing I pay attention to is how your body speaks to you. Your body will tell you exactly how it's feeling. Your body will also show you the results of what you're eating. So if in most cases, and again, I don't want to generalize too much, but in a lot of cases, the most muscular men or women that you will see on this earth are omnivores. They eat both plants and meat. If you go completely plant side and go to the vegan community, unless they're eating crazy high amounts of protein, which is very difficult to get on a vegan diet, you will see that they are on the more frail side. It's like they look like long distance runners. Like They're on the smaller side. And then if you go on the all meat side, you see also a lot of the same muscular looking people. You look in in wildlife, it's quite clear. Omnivores such as elephants, hippos, rhinos, they eat plants. What do they look like? They're on the bigger side. You wouldn't call them overweight. You don't really see overweight animals. I don't think you've ever seen an overweight animal, because the overweight animals that you do observe, they're usually prey. They die. Especially plant eaters. Plant eating overweight animals, they're not breathing currently. They're in somebody's stomach. That's how it works in nature. It's only in humans where you see. Anyway, so carnivores in the wild. Have you ever seen an overweight tiger? Have you ever seen an overweight lion? Panther, cheetah, cougar? You've never seen an overweight carnivore. Why? Because you can't overeat on a carnivore diet. You can't overeat on meatloaf. That's cap, because that ketchup just be sweet as hell. But a steak, you can't overeat on steak. You can't overeat on chicken breast. Nobody's ever said, you know what I got taste for? 2 pounds of chicken breast, dry as hell, no ranch, no ketchup, no barbecue. I just want some. Just give me some chicken, just dry chicken breast and water. Nobody's overeating on chicken breast. But you will notice, especially like around the Halloween time, the day after Halloween, you can eat candy all day long. Never get full, never get satisfied, never feel satiated, because carbs are energy. Fat is energy as well, except we have labeled it, and through media, you've always heard that red meat is bad. Fat is bad for you because it makes you fat. Fat is just energy, just like carbs are energy, except fat is naturally occurring. That's why when you eat animals, the protein comes with fat. Whereas whey isolate, all it does is spike your insulin, and then you store the protein and rebuild your muscles, what have you. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it doesn't come with fat. There's reasonings for that. So to answer your question, back to that, when I want to lose weight, I kill carbs. First thing I do. But one thing I have to do is increase the fats. And that's the part that's usually slept on is, all right, I'm eating a low fat and low carb diet. Well, your hormones are going to suffer because of the fat. Protein may be stable, cool, but protein is not energy. Protein macro is not used for energy. It's used for repair of the body. So you need energy. If you ever heard of the rabbit diet, where people I think they were in Iceland somewhere, or Greenland or somewhere, and they're eating only rabbits. Well, they were starving while eating rabbits. Why? Because the rabbit doesn't have fat and has no carbs. So they were eating a protein-only diet. They were literally starving themselves. I'm the last person to tell you I have it all figured out, but I study, I read, I watch a ton of lectures and videos, and this is just what I'm on currently, and it's working for me. It's improved my mental health, improves my joints feel amazing. I don't feel crazy sore. Like today after basketball, I walked right out the gym. I didn't sit there and stretch for 2 hours. Like I wasn't hurting walking off the court. My ankles were a little stiff, but no, carnivore, you feel amazing on it. My mental clarity, my anxiety is the lowest on carnivore with keto variants. Keto just being high fat diets with like 50 grams of carbs or so. Carnivore being no carbs. Like the only carbs I consume are like accidental carbs. Like this has no carbs. But yeah, occasionally I'll have like ranch on my steak or something, which is probably blasphemy to some people that are steak lovers. But yeah, ranch has trace carbs in it. But that's my thought process when it comes to nutrition. Weight, like lifting weights and running and cardio and what have you, there's many variants of that, and you really can't miss with doing any of it. Like you really won't fail by doing any of it. But it's the diet that usually makes or breaks you. I'm willing to bet that if you switch to a carnivore diet, a keto diet, not only with your variables as far as your blood pressure or any insulin sensitivity issues you're dealing with, I'm willing to bet that all of it would improve. Not only that, but you would lose weight as well. I'm not saying you'll lose 90 pounds overnight, because that's quite a bit of weight to lose. But yeah, you will see the scale change by eating a carnivore diet. Again, you're eating fatty meats. Like you're not eating chicken breast, which is quite lean in nature. You're eating chicken thighs, you're eating pork chops, you're eating steak. And again, this is not me. It's just something to go research. I'm not telling you to go do this, but it's something you should research. Dr. Paul Saladino, Dr. Kim Berry, Dr. Georgia Eid. There's plenty of people that are pioneering this movement. I just bought Dr. Paul Saladino's book, but it's an amazing community. It's amazing results. and it's the complete opposite of what you've been taught probably your entire life, especially as it relates to like nutrition classes and oh, red meat is bad and no, sugar's bad. Things with barcodes are bad. Even though some meats come with barcodes. The point being is that if it's made in a factory, we probably weren't eating this 100 years ago. Why are we eating it now? Why do we have these huge humans walking around and you can't find the equivalent in the wild? Not only because they're eaten, but because they don't get that big. So it's just my thought process. Something for you to go research and kind of look into, but hope that answers your question. I'm not sure what you mean by, so your question is, what series of AFSCs would you recommend for best qual actual weekends off? I don't know what you mean by best qual, but as it relates to actual weekends off, just think very vaguely and very logically, which job works at a desk? That's probably the best answer in terms of getting weekends off, getting a very predictable schedule, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30. Which job works at a desk? You can look at chaplain assistant, personnel, admin, finance. A lot of medical jobs work at a desk. Command post works at a desk. Although you might be working 24 hours a day, you might not be Monday through Friday, but it's at a desk. Chair force, sitting there for. So we're kind of known for sitting at desks. The scheduling is what kind of throws a wrench in people's schedule. Not to be redundant, but yeah, you want the jobs that kind of make the most sense. Like, which jobs are closed on weekends? Well, most of them, but more specifically, the jobs that have more of a civilian kind of infrastructure, if that makes sense. Hope that was. This is a very good question, JP. Very good question, and it's something that I'm not proud to answer in this manner, but I'm going to do so anyway. My relationship with my parents is something interesting, and it has almost nothing to do with the military. Almost nothing to do with the military. It has to do with a lot of things that I'm struggling with in my childhood, and then as I transition into adult, some things I haven't really addressed, and I really don't want to go into that. Do I want to go into it? All right, whatever. I won't go into it, but I'll answer your question. It's really changed. It's really stayed the same, more or less. When you have divorced parents, the question I always raised: who do I go see on holidays? Who do I go see before or after a deployment? That question is always raised, and it's not something that the parents may have to think about a lot, but it's something the child has to think about: is who do I go see because they live in two different states? I only have a certain amount of time. I only have a certain amount of leave that I can take. Who do I go visit? Who do I want to go visit? And it's a even friends fall in this category. Even brothers and sisters fall in this category of my brother's in the Army or my brother's in the Air Force. My sister's just swore into the Air Force. Older sister is a teacher in California. Who do I go see? Aunts and uncles almost never make the list. Grandparents just barely made the list when I was PCSing down here. It's an endless struggle of you're in the military, you're constantly moving around, you're constantly a different state. Who do I go give my time to? Because you want to give it to everyone equally, but also you need some time for yourself, especially pre or post deployment. You need some time to kind of digest change, adaptation, what have you. And so my relationship with my parents hasn't really changed from my point of view. I would guess that from their point of view, I'm probably more distant. I'm probably less communicative, mainly because my dad was in the Army, so a lot of things that I probably should be asking him about, in a lot of cases that I don't. And it's nothing. I have no beef with my parents whatsoever. I have zero beef with my parents about their divorce, about the way I was raised. I'm grateful. And I was talking to a friend earlier before I got on stream, and she mentioned how my parents are a major factor in how I've kind of turned out in my life, and she's 100% right. The way I've turned out is 1,000% due to the way I was raised by my parents. They raised me in a certain way to value certain things, to seek wisdom, to make certain decisions. That's due to the way my parents raised. Also to the luxury of having my father in the house, when the typical black man is not raised with a father in the house. That's a luxury. I'm grateful. So a lot of that has to do with how I've turned out. And so as I evolve in my military career, and just in age in general, nothing much has changed outside of distance, outside of kind of growing into my role as a man living in 2021 and understanding that It's my job to go build something, to go eat. If I want to eat, I gotta go kill something. Gotta get out the mud. That's facts. My decisions fall on my doorstep. I pay my own bills. That's the point of adulthood, is to be mature, to seek out what you need over what you want consistently. So I I consider myself in a category that it's really hard to change, but I don't see myself as a good son as it relates to how much I communicate with them. I must do better. But even while saying it, I cringe at the thought of where do I start. One thing I miss most, and I posted this once on Twitter. One thing I miss most pre-divorce about my parents is that how difficult would it be to get both my parents in the same room and have a conversation with both my parents as their son? Because during the divorce, I wasn't divorced from them. They were divorced from each other. But in my mind, they're both my parents. My dad's remarried. My mom's unmarried. So I found myself in a position like, if I wanted to have a conversation with my parents, how difficult would that be to get both of them in the same room, just not as married couple, but as my parents? That's probably the biggest issue I have with the divorce, is the fact that the children are just kind of left in limbo. And as much as I love both of them equally, I love both of them. I have no beef with them. They made adult decisions about their relationship. That's their relationship. But I'm still a result of that. And so when I think of my parents, I think of these two people in my mind who are still married. Even as a 28-year-old, I'm thinking these two people are my parents, but to each other, they're divorced. And so, yeah, that's probably the biggest dilemma I deal with as a 28-year-old black man serving in the military, is my parents are kind of distanced, not only physically, but emotionally as well, as a result of divorce. It's why I put so much emphasis in studying relationship and knowing that when I enter something, I'm not doing it twice. I jokingly posted a tweet this morning about, I've been a staff sergeant for almost a year now, a little over a year now. It's about time I got divorced. Come on, bruh. You missing it, bruh. You should have been divorced at least once by now. What's the hold up? Pick somebody and just get it over with. Grab some lawyers, grab a prenup, or whatever you got to do. But you should have had a divorce by now, bruh. Come on, 28 years old. Why are you not divorced yet? Satire, of course. But it's something I think about, is in terms of family planning, is why it doesn't happen more. Why are we so surprised constantly when someone gets pregnant? Notice how nobody, very rarely, I'll say that because there's some people that struggle to get pregnant. So, of course, they're planning to get pregnant. But in a lot of cases, most people are surprised. Oops, calendar, something off, something not adding up, something late, something missing, something. It's always a surprise. It's mostly a surprise. That's the last thing I want for my life, is to be surprised by something so major as bringing a human into the world. And so, I know there's a long tangent, but yeah, as it relates to your question, it's very multi-layered. It's a huge onion that needs to be unpeeled, and it's something I have to address in my own life, my personal life. But it's something that doesn't get talked about often, is the distance of serving in the military and being distanced from your family. And honestly, it's a bridge that's hard to kind of build from that distance. It's something that has to be addressed. So, great question. Great question. Cage responded to my question I asked earlier. I have access to 100% of my time. I get paid a livable salary for the rest of my life, which is untaxed, so I'd never have to file taxes again. Base gym included. I have no complaint. Hey, I am not mad at you. I am not mad at you. You living. Water, I made a video on the vaccine. Go check that out. Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Interesting stuff. V. Michelle with the blasphemy. I don't know if she's allowed to say this stuff in public. Hopefully someone can cancel her, because that's so unacceptable. We can't have that. Can't have that. Little doggy is in here. I'm not sure. What time is it in Tokyo? Why are you up? I thought I'd answer that question. I think I did a long rant on how do I find cheating. Did I answer that question? I'm not gonna answer that. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk, little doggy. We'll talk. That's a good question, but yeah, we'll leave it at that. What, bro? Wonder Pet, if you text another person in a non-friendly manner with ill intent, I'll cut your PS4, PS5, Xbox Switch cord from the base. Can't be together. Wonder Pet, are you vindictive? Are you an angry person? With no college credits, would a 6-year actually promote me to E3 in 20 weeks? Or I'm blind. Yeah, that's what I did. That's definitely truth. I came in with 0 stripes, but after 20 weeks, I promoted. Yeah, that's quite normal. 6-year contracts, I would try to avoid them. I would do my best to try to avoid a 6-year contract. It's not what you want. What else we got? If I sell him, I'm gonna be honest. I think the Air Force should have made a slightly bigger adjustment on the running standards per age. I like another 30 seconds, 5 years after 25. These knees are banged up, and hey, that's facts. Like my body, like again, this carnivore has improved a lot of my joints. Like I just feel better on it. Like I'm only 28, but there comes a time where you just kind of start feeling old. I'm like, this can't be what old feels like at 28. But yeah, that's facts. Dick Johnson asks, is your leadership or airmen supportive of what you do on YouTube? They're not supportive per se, but they're more or less indifferent. I'm probably aware that my leadership has probably kind of monitored from a distance. I was exposed day one when I got in the office because I had 2 subscribers in that section already when I got to the office. And they mentioned it right in front of my senior. So it was kind of aired out immediately. And of course, I keep running into people. I was at the barbershop the other day and I ran into a security forces airman who's been watching me for a minute. And then my first airman, she watched me before she joined. And then my guy, Child Moore, he was watching me before he joined as well. So not so much supportive, but of course, at some point, they will definitely be aware of it. Just because my point is to be organically noticed by certain topics I cover and just kind of just bringing awareness to certain topics and trying to put my little 2 cents in there. At some point, it will be made known. It's hard to kind of ignore it. If you type in anything Air Force, at some point, you're going to see my face. At some point. So I kind of go into my videos understanding that reality of, all right, I need to be aware of what I say, how I say things, my delivery. Just being aware of those type of things. It's real easy to lose ground off of social media. You see all these TikToks of people just kind of being reckless, trying to get recognized, trying to go viral, trying to get something, and they lose what they have by going too far. It happens every day, and so wisdom is the whole point. Wisdom. So there's that. All right, we'll answer a couple more. Thoughts on Air Force versus Space Force? Don't really have an opinion. Space Force is just new, has a new car smell. Everybody likes something new. Everybody likes something that's not all the way figured out. There's only about a handful of people, a couple thousand, well, probably maybe 10, 12,000, 15,000 people in the Space Force. Most of that being paperwork and name tapes. That's about it. Space Force is not really a place. It's located, I believe, at Buckley or Peterson Air Force Base, one of those in Colorado. That's really it. It's just kind of an infrastructure build that they're just in the beginning phases of building this out. The deltas are established. The infrastructure as it relates to the MAGCOM equivalents and the wing equivalents in the Space Force. All that's being built out. But it's simply a different mission. It's just a different mission, different domain. The Army handles boots on the ground. Marines handle water and land, both. And then, of course, Air Force dominates the air. And, of course, we have some missions on the ground, such as radars. But Space Force handles space, air. And cyber, of course. So, yeah, just understanding, like, the difference between the purpose of each branch kind of brings more context to understanding that branch and why it's there and why there's certain requirements to get into certain branches and certain positions and certain ASVAB scores are required for certain taskings just because of that purpose of the branch. The Navy SEALs cannot accept someone who cannot swim. That's why I don't sign up for anything that requires swimming. It's just simple. So, yeah, just understanding the difference between the branches and why certain requirements are there brings more context to understanding what that branch is there for. So, hope that makes sense. Andre D asks, can I keep my beard can I keep my beard on before I join the Air Force? Probably not, unless you have religious reasons. Probably not. Because trust me, I'll say this. religious reasons are the only reason why you can keep like a full beard as it relates to like just a full James Harden. But in the cases where uh, you need a shaving waiver, that's different. Where you'll be able to just not shave essentially. Now there are limitations to that. You on your shaving waiver, and once you get it, you'll be briefed on the limitations. Of course, they'll probably expect you to go consult the regulations as it relates to 36-2903 AFI, where it relates like the length of your beard can't exceed a certain length, or the length of your hair can't exceed like I believe it's like 2 inches in bulk. So it's certain things like that you'll be aware of. Of course, beard. Most people think of like the full James Harden junk. Probably not, unless you got religious reasons for that. You probably won't be having James Harden, but a lot of people will have the scruff and like just not shaving, because of shaving waiver reasons. But yeah, trust that's the one part of the regs I wish was updated. Was please let me grow out my James Harden, bro. I need that. You understand? Yeah, it may come in the pipeline. Who knows? Might be something that they're working on. But currently, yeah, beards are still not authorized. So there's that. Giovanni Zabala asks, "What do you think about going after PhD?" I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on PhDs. It does kind of affect how we perceive certain people. And like, all right, they have a PhD, so they think this, and they're this smart, and they've achieved this level of education. I think PhDs, and this is my personal opinion, have more to do with prestige than education or ability or capability or potential. I think the PhD behind your name has more to do with just the prestige. It's kind of like having an MBA. Like, there are a lot of unemployed people that have MBAs. What does that even mean? So a lot of people with degrees. I'm a PhD. Just you got PhDs everywhere. Got degrees and everything, and they work at gas stations. I'm like, what is the point of the debt? What was the point? A lot of people going in debt for degrees. So now the military would not pay for your PhD. Just be aware that I think the military pays up to a master's degree, which I think that's plenty in most cases for the average job that you're trying to get. PhDs are something that most people go after mainly because they have like a passion for it. They have this calling in their head that they need to accomplish, and they need this PhD for it. But in most cases, to get a job that you're going after, you probably just need a PhD, unless you're trying to be a professor or, some type of fancy researcher or something. But yeah, that's my small opinion on PhDs. It's has more to. It's kind of like the New York Times or all these fancy newspapers has more to do with prestige than actual ability, because all they're doing is communicating. But yet, it's so you work at the New York Times, the LA Times, the what have you. Doesn't really matter. It has more to do with prestige and that class of elegance surrounding a certain career field, more than actual, all right, who's smart, who knows what they're talking about. So that's my little opinion. The stack says calories in, calories out. That's it. I would push back on that, mainly because your body will struggle to know what a calorie is. Your body expends calories in the form of energy, but the body communicates with food in the form of hormones. Perfect example will be if I ate 30 calories of plain, pure, uncut Colombian sugar, and if I ate 30 calories of broccoli, would those calories affect me differently? The answer is yes. It's simple. If I ate 30 calories of steak, would that affect me differently than if I ate 30 calories of candy? Could I feed myself? Are the nutrients in a steak different than the nutrients found in candy? Jolly Ranchers. They're greatly different. The vitamins found in a steak are. Do you get B12 from candy? Can you get potassium from candy? Can you get magnesium from candy? No. So to say that food is simply calories, there might be some truth to that in terms of, and a lot of people reference the law of thermodynamics and our energy in, energy out, and you just equalize that. And then, of course, if you eat in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. That might be true in certain cases, depending on what you're eating. But to say that all calories are the same, because I noticed you didn't mention any specifics as it relates to what kind of calories you're eating. If I'm just eating one macro, no, that's not how that works. That's not how it works. So there's a little bit more research that I've done into it. And again, I don't proclaim to be right about everything, but I like to study and just understanding like calories in, calories out. I've tried that stuff. Um, I'm not gonna say it always fails. I'm not gonna say it's always right, but there's some truth missing from that phrase, from that statement. So that's my little opinion. Just finished my ASVAB for the Air Force with an active duty recruiter, but I feel like the reserves are a better fit for me. Is it too late to switch? No. Until you are on the plane to basic training, it's not too late. Communicate. Go talk to that person. Go explain the situation. Yeah, communication is probably the biggest piece of any process. Is like nobody's gonna read your mind. You need to get that out in the open. I'm not saying just follow your feelings and just communicate overly, but understand that communicate. Hope that helps. Oh, all right, let's get through the rest of these. I am tired and I demand rest and relaxation. Jamari Ryan says, I loved being away from my family when I was active duty. Just be out of it. Hey, that's different. I want to be around y'all, man. Y'all loud and y'all make me tired and it's too much. I've had enough. That's facts. Wonder Pet says, shine light on 6 versus 4. I watched the video, but you seem to have learned something new. So yeah, I've touched on this before. 6-year contract versus 4-year contract. There are very few benefits to signing a 6-year contract over a 4-year. Most people immediately go to the money as in regards to, all right, I'll be E3 when I come in versus the E1 or well, everyone's an E0 in basic training. But being E1 versus E3, there's difference in money. It's not enough to notice. Trust me on that. There are some benefits that as relates to promoting quicker. So obviously if you make E3, then the next rank is E4. And so that will come a lot sooner than if you're E1. Most likely if you come in E1, you probably get out the military as an E4. Most likely, as it relates to the 4-year contract. And then the 4-year contract, you're probably E4 when you get out. Of course, assuming that you get out after that 4-year contract. The benefits to a 4-year contract directly relates to cross training from my perspective. 36 months, you can cross train into a different career field. 6-year contract is 59 months. That's a long time. 59 months. I just entered my cross training window and I've been in 4.5 years. So that means you're doing a whole 4-year contract. If you sign a 6-year contract, the money's not worth it. Trust me on that. That I would not choose any career field simply because of the money. I don't do that anymore. I came in on a 6-year contract. I want the E3 and whatever, and I didn't plan on getting out. So I'm like, 6-year contract ain't that. But there's really no benefits over a 4-year. As long as if you think you're due more than a 4-year contract, there's really no benefit to doing a 6-year over a 4-year outside of promoting a little bit quicker. But again, you don't want to have more experience than you have. You don't have more rank than you have experience. So that's like a quick little breakdown of how I see 4 and 6-year contracts. In hindsight, I would have signed a 4-year contract, cross-trained in 36 months, and I would already be in that career field, cross-trained, versus signing a 6-year contract, waiting 59 months. Yes, I make staff first time. Yes, I made staff in 3 years. But in the long run, we're all doing 20 for the most part. Like those who decide to stay in, we're all doing 20 anyway. So it's not really going to hold that much weight as far as you made staff in 3 years. I made it in 5, but we both got out after 20 years. You just had more responsibility sooner. There's really no point to it. So have your goals established is probably the biggest piece. Is like, all right, if you only plan on doing a 4-year contract, obviously don't do a 6-year. If you get a job and you don't like that job and that's the job you got, well, hopefully you signed a 4-year contract so you can cross train in 36 months rather than 59 months. So it's just understanding the long-term effects of certain decisions. It really doesn't affect you past your first contract. Certain assignments you might have to extend for. Let's say you sign a 4-year contract and then, let's say towards the end of that contract, let's say towards the end of 3 or 4 years, now you got orders. Well, you may not have enough retainability to take that assignment, so you might have to extend or re-enlist. Of course, extending is probably your best option because you retain your first-term airman status. You might not want to reenlist. That makes you a career airman. You lose a lot of options because of reenlistment. So just understanding the long-term effects. And again, a lot of cases you won't have this information available to you. You don't know the questions to ask. And so obviously I try to make this platform a mentorship of sorts where you can get a lot of information sooner from a staff sergeant who's been in 4.5 years versus, coming in and just not really knowing what to ask. So great question. I always tell people 4-year contract, 4-year contract. You get a lot of options sooner, which is the whole point, is to keep your options. So hope that helps. One pet asks, are you required base housing if you're married after BMT, AIT, first station? Nope, you are not. It's encouraged because a lot of times you don't know the area and they think you're a child and no, you can't live off base. That's too far. But no, you're not required. A lot of cases, living on base is preferred. A lot of people want to live on base, and so you might have to compete to get a house on base. So no, it's not required for your first duty station. Living in dorms for the single people, in a lot of cases, is that's different. What did you study to pass the ASVAB? I studied that book, but mostly I studied my weaknesses, which is math. I put all my energy and effort into studying math. That's my weakness. And that's why I always encourage people is like, when it comes to ASVAB, you can't study everything. Some people go in there and try to read the entire book front to back. And I'm like, all right, cool. But you're not really retaining all of that. You need to study your weaknesses. That's the biggest part of the ASVAB is what am I struggling with the most as it relates to this test? And so for me, it was just math, understanding fractions again, and long division, long addition, like just doing the basic math problems that a third grader would know. That at 23 years old, I forgot a lot of it. And so I had to go back and I had to do long multiplication, cross multiplying and all these things and comparing fractions and multiplying fractions. I had to go back and learn those things. And again, I used YouTube and I learned children's games that I downloaded on my iPad. I literally just played children's games, math problems, and then watch YouTube videos on it. And that's how I was able to improve that area dramatically. So that's my little take on study for the ASVAB. The book might help on a lot of different things, but yeah, you're probably just going to need to identify, probably do a practice test. What am I weakest on? And really just pour your effort into that area of your weaknesses. And then touch on the other areas as well, but really dive in on the weaknesses and try to bring those up. Hope that helps. Hey, appreciate you, JP, man. Appreciate you, man. That's love. Stalking Koala asks, super serious question. If you live on base, can you bring females into your dorm? Yes. Yes, that's your place of residence. So yeah, it's almost treated like your house, but you will have room inspections. You will have a lot of different stuff that comes with living on government housing. They can come to your house anytime. They don't need a warrant. They don't need to knock. They can walk into your house anytime. Now, obviously, they'll have some type of tact where they try to give you a heads up, or if you're doing a room inspection, they don't got to tell you anything. They just walk in while you're at work. So just understanding those type of things, like don't have nobody just staying overnight, and being aware of consequences to certain actions. But yeah, there's no rules against having a friend over, having a guest, having family over. It's quite encouraged because you're human like everybody else. Because you live on base doesn't mean that you don't need friends and interaction with people. So yeah, hope that helps. Great stream, people. 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Some good questions that were dropped. I'm tired. You understand? You understand? It is 7:18, and yeah, I'm ready to do something else. But yeah, I enjoyed the stream. A lot of good questions, a lot of good topics, great range of topics, and what have you. But yeah, hope you have a good day. Hope you guys. I know it's 10 a.m. in Tokyo, according to the little doggy. One of the coolest things about YouTube is having friends in different countries. That is probably the dopest thing. I have a friend in New Zealand as well. Several friends just all over the world. I got friends in Turkey, that are actually military, that are stationed all over the world and what have you. But just having civilian friends that are not military that watch, that is probably the dopest thing about YouTube. Just connecting with people that all over the world, it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. So, y'all have a good night. You have a good night, and I will touch base with y'all on the next stream. Say it was good to your boy.